What's up, my friends and fellow fans, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you for giving us just a little bit of your time. No Cora tonight. She's in the middle of doing some packing and some other stuff for the big move that she's going to be making eventually. I'm sure she'll tell you all about that when she gets the chance. But do not fear, because here are my killer co-hosts. The first of which is my hetero life, Jeremy. What's going on with you, my brother?
Not much, man. It's Thursday night. Let's fucking do this shit. We got a lot of shit to talk about. We got Punishers and Mandalorians and all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, so it's definitely some big news, even some breaking news. We'll get to that in just a second as we go to the Shape from the Lone Star State, someone who we learned a lot about on Casey's stream last night, some of the things that he's into. One of these days we'll have to talk about it, but not on this channel because I don't want YouTube getting pissed at me. What's going on, Tex?
Poor Vanilla Frank. Can't handle the crazier side of that. But no, doing well. I did see Scream 6. It is amazing. Go see it immediately. Or not immediately. Watch us and then go see it. But yeah, doing well. Hope everybody's having fun.
I mean, spoilers if you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
You know what
I haven't spoiled anything. I'm not like one of those idiots on Twitter that likes to go spread everything about a movie before anybody gets a chance to go see it. It's been really hard for the last 2 weeks. I've had to avoid whole YouTube pages that talk about spoilers, so you know who you are. I don't have to call them out, but it's all good.
Yeah, this movie more than almost any other in a long time has been the subject of a lot of spoilers. It's like every movie deals with it, especially the big movies. The MCU does a lot to fight it. They do. Obviously, Lucasfilm does a lot to fight spoilers for like Star Wars and stuff like that. But this movie more than any other, I mean, you would expect a couple of spoilers to be a big deal, but this one really got targeted for some reason. I have no idea why.
Well, some things that have been leaked were correct in a way, but I don't know why people want to spoil movies like this. I mean, the whole point of a Scream film is the mystery of who, it's one of the best whodunits of all time. Why do you want to ruin that before you get to go say it?
That's probably the reason why, though, on the flip side.
Right. Well, it's like
because of how the movie's set up. Yeah.
Right. It's, and I mean, of course, some idiots who work at the theater, leaked some footage out. So I hope I know they lost their job, so good on them for, firing those pieces of crap. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good film. Like I said, I look forward to reviewing it next week, and yeah, it's going to be a fun show this week, though. So
yeah, it's looking like Thursday is going to be our Scream review. So hopefully Jeremy will get a chance to between now and then. I'm planning on going either tomorrow or Saturday. More than likely Saturday during the day to go see it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of good things. I've been going back and forth here and there with Nick from Lost River Drive-In. He had actually gotten some spoilers a while back, but he was like, I am completely switching off from all the people
you
have about this shit because I'm not.
I had to mute certain Twitter accounts that I follow because they were straight up like, okay, here's A through Z how it goes. Don't so yeah, it was it was fun to deal with, but yeah. I've seen it now, so it's all good.
Yeah, but a little bit of breaking news, something that really came across the wires about 40-ish minutes ago or so, is Robert Blake, the actor famous from the Beretta TV series and In Cold Blood, has passed away at the age of 89 from heart failure. Obviously, a name, one of the more interesting celebrity murder trials, probably second only to the OJ one. I'll read you directly from this article in Deadline. I'm sorry I don't have a picture to pull up. I thought I'd grab one, but I didn't. Controversial actor Robert Blake, who was born Michael James Gibitosi, died today in Los Angeles from heart disease, according to his niece, at the age of 89. His long career spanned everything from a childhood stint on Our Gang at the age of 5 through major films and television. Over the course of 60 years of working in Hollywood, Blake starred in such classic films as Treasures of Sierra Madre, which I haven't seen since I was a kid, but that was a fun adventure movie. And alongside Humphrey Bogart and In Cold Blood in 1967 with John Forsythe, as well as a range of studio westerns. His last feature film role was in Lost Highway in 1997, directed by David Lynch, a great director. But it was in television where he made probably his best-known role as the streetwise New York City undercover detective Tony Beretta in the show Beretta that aired for 4 seasons on ABC from 1975 to 1978. His portrayal in the crime drama garnered him an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series in 1977. He's also remembered for his ever-ready battery commercials, daring someone to knock one off his shoulder. But there was a small darker side to Blake's story. Bonnie Lee Blakely, the second wife of Blake, was found dead outside of Vitello's restaurant in the Valley in 2001. Blake was charged with Blakely's murder in 2002, along with solicitation of murder, conspiracy, and special circumstances of lying in wait. That's a lot for a charge, but okay. I don't know. Every state words this stuff differently, but essentially they charge him with murder. But a jury did end up finding him not guilty of the crimes in 2005. And although Blakely's children brought a wrongful death suit against Blake shortly thereafter, her killing remains officially unsolved. That highly publicized trial was, second to the OJ trial. It was the big celebrity trial of the last 50 or 60 years. I don't know. Jeremy, what do you think about? I don't know how much you remember about the whole Robert Blake thing. He hasn't really been in the public eye since the early 2000s. But what do you think about the passing of this television icon?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I really know a whole lot about, just even that. I was looking while you were talking. I'm like, some of those photos look familiar. I think I remember having seen this later. But, yeah, like you said, the last thing was in 1997. I was still crapping my pants in 1997, so I don't,
Yeah, he was 12 whenever he was still crapping his pants.
Yeah, you weren't there. Shut up. Yeah, I don't know. But shit, you've been around for quite a while, so I'm just looking through his IMDb.
Yeah, to give you guys a little bit of background, he had gone to a restaurant with his wife. I'm reading this again directly from the article. Let's see. Okay, the highly publicized 3-month trial saw Blake weep into the shoulder of his lawyer after the jury acquitted him. The 7 men and 5 women found him not guilty of soliciting a former stunt double whom he met on the set of Beretta to kill his wife. Blakely, at the time, who was 44 when she died from a gunshot wound to the head on May 4th of 2001, as she sat in a car outside a Studio City restaurant where she had just had dinner with Blake. He claimed to have escorted her to their car, but went back inside the restaurant to retrieve a gun he accidentally left behind. He claimed he found her wounded when he returned. Of course, over the course of the trial, their unhappy marriage details became sensational news fodder. Blakely, it was revealed, had at least a dozen aliases and 10 former husbands. The defense contended she had trapped Mr. Blake into an unloving marriage by becoming pregnant with his child. Thus, the motive for Blake, who referred to his wife as Pig, was established, but the jury didn't believe the stuntman's testimony thanks to his history of drug abuse. So he eventually was acquitted, but however, Blakely's children did file a wrongful death suit against him and won a ruling of $30 million, which eventually was reduced by a judge to $15 million. What's $15 million between friends, right? But obviously it kind of ruined him financially. He tried different things. He was selling some autograph merch. He tried starting a YouTube channel for a while that I didn't even know that he had done until just now as I was reading another article. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you remember, Tex, about Robert Blake, but what are some of your thoughts on this breaking news?
I honestly can't sit here and say I honestly remember anything about the man. And I know that's bad to say about the dead, but for whatever reason, he just never hit my radar. Even the murder trial, I'm a big true crime guy. Surely I would have, and maybe I have seen that before in the past, and I've just said, not recalling at the moment, but it, this one just right over my head for whatever reason. So, hey, sound like he lived a hard, troubled life, but hey, I guess he ain't going to worry about it no more, right? So, there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah, being the fan of old TV the way I am, because I'm a bit of an old soul when it comes to the TV. I remember Brett. I haven't watched the episode front to back or anything. It lasted 4 seasons, and I've seen random episodes on TV Land or something like that. It was kind of a regular procedural for the 70s. But he was kind of the weird sex symbol of the time. He was in the vein of like a Charles Bronson was back in the 70s, things like that. Okay. He was kind of one of those guys. But again, 60 plus years in Hollywood. You don't have, who knows what that guy could have done had he not been wrapped up in some of the other shit that he got wrapped up in. Most predominantly, of course, the whole murder trial about his wife. But it's not a small thing when somebody from this era of entertainment passes away. That era was so much different. Yeah, I was actually watching an interview with Shelley Duvall a while back. You guys know Shelley Duvall from The Shining.
Oh yeah.
She's had her issues the last several years as well. But I mean, I was watching this interview that another YouTuber that I tend to watch here and there, not Lethal Collective, who is it? I forget the name of the guy. But him and his girlfriend have a channel where they go around and they look at like different movie things and stuff like that. And they just got done making a small horror film in which Shelley Duvall was in. She'd actually come back to acting for this small film, which I think is going to be coming out soon if it's not out already. But and they sat down and just talked to her for a bit, and it was kind of like, wow, it's weird to kind of get, because she talked a little bit about working with Nicholson in The Shining and like the experiences on filming Popeye and other things that she had done, her children's books and other stuff she'd done over the course of her career. And I was like, wow, it's why I keep telling people, go back every now and again and look, because some of these stories and stuff, they're not being properly cataloged sometimes, in my opinion. It's like people, you'll have somebody like that tell these stories about these actors that, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're not being properly weighed. They're not being looked upon the right way because everybody's so wrapped up in watching Vin Diesel yell family at the camera and, do superior shit, even though he's some 55-year-old guy from LA.
Yell family or I am Groot. That's all that he knows. That's his only two roles.
Hey, those 4 words have made him a lot of money. Don't shit on it,
Oh, I'm not crapping on him. I'm jealous, but yeah, no,
he was also the Iron Giant, to be fair. So
yeah, that's true. True.
I didn't know he played that role.
He said one word. He said Superman. That made him a lot of money. So
yeah, but go down the comments.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
Well, if we're gonna talk about like Tom Sizemore at some point, I mean, I'll mention it then.
I was going to mention at the end, since there pretty much wasn't anything big to say about it other than the fact that he passed away, but we'll talk about that towards the end.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you think of the death of Robert Blake. I know a lot of the younger kids out there just won't know anything that he's done because from the mid-90s on, he wasn't even in anything. I mean, his career had just completely fizzled out. He got notoriety again in the early 2000s because of the murder trial.
I'm gonna say a big murder trial. I mean, shit. How do you come back from that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised.
OJ's working on it.
I love the true crime stuff. I mean, I listen to podcasts. I love the shows. I get into all that. I can't believe that I haven't even looked into that one. That's surprising to me. I might have to look into that now. I'm curious. Let's check it out.
Like a lot of people said that the only celebrity trial that blew up bigger than this was OJ. And OJ was a whole thing. But this one became kind of a big deal too, kind of in the aftermath of OJ in the early 2000s when things were still kind of dying down from the whole OJ debacle. That this thing came up, and that became kind of the next big celebrity legal case. But yeah, very interesting indeed. But go down the comments below, let us know what you guys think about the death of Robert Blake. Now it looks like I'll be reading the lead-ins tonight because Cora is not with us tonight, and some big news dropped a couple of days ago from Marvel Land. Yeah, I'm happy as hell about this one.
Hell yes.
It looks like Jon Bernthal is returning to his most punishing role. The actor will be reprising Frank Castle, a.k.a. the Punisher, in Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again for Disney+. Bernthal joins Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio in the series, which begins shooting in New York this month. In a departure from the Marvel series, which came in at 6 or 9 episodes per season, Born Again is planned at a whopping 18-episode epic. The show is expected to bow in the spring of 2024. Jeremy, what do you think of Frank Castle's return?
Hell yes. Let's get some more Punisher up in here. You guys did him dirty, along with like him, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, fucking everybody.
Except for Iron Fist, he sucks. Don't use Iron Fist.
I'm just saying, it's that meme of like the Grim Reaper going into like every door of like Netflix's every show, just killing every single one of them off. I'm like, yeah, you kind of did do that. The man's lost enough as it is. Jesus Christ. That's pretty awesome. I honestly, I don't know why we ever decided to get rid of Jon Bernthal's Punisher, because holy crap. And what better show to do that in, I suppose, than Daredevil? Because I think, Frank, you said like that they're not going to hold back on this show. Like this is going to be some good shit. So, you're going to have to call it Born Again because you got a lot of bouncing back to do from what the fuck you did to him in She-Hulk. So I don't know why you even consider them to be in the same goddamn room. So
I'm not even sure that's the same version of that character, to be totally honest.
It better not be. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see him taking a walk of shame. So,
Well, that's one of the big questions. Are we looking at different variants? They haven't really answered that yet. Cox, for all of for what it's worth, he said that we're getting not a variant, but a different kind of Daredevil. So we don't know if he's moved, if he's went from from New York to LA for a while, and then this is going to find him back to New York. I don't really know how it's going to work, but I don't know. Tex, what do you think? He's coming back.
Good.
Oh, well, this is, like I was saying the other day, there's only really two Marvel characters that I actually have invested in. One is Punisher, and then the other is Ghost Rider. And I want both of those done right. And knowing that Punisher has already been done so perfectly, don't screw it up, Disney. Don't change it. Don't do anything to it. Just copy. Just copy everything. Just give us what we already had. And as soon as you saw Jon Bernthal on The Walking Dead as Shane, and especially in season 2, how could you not see Punisher right there?
Because I'm like, this is Shane at his full potential. This is what.
Right. Once he goes full blown bad guy, he was born to play this role. So I'm very happy to see him back. I hope Disney doesn't water him down. I don't want to see the PG Punisher. Doesn't work. The character will suck if they water him down.
He's gonna have an airsoft gun or some shit.
he shoots him with a Nerf gun. That's what he does.
Yeah, right. But he painted black, but he's so edgy.
He has like a hot pink Nerf gun with a rainbow on the side of it or something.
He kicks in a fucking door. Like, it's Nerf or nothing. Shoots him.
And there's product placement right there, so you can get sponsorship, Disney. There you go.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, they need to stick with
their guns.
Stick with what made Punisher good on the Netflix series, and this is great news. And if they're smart, they won't water him down. Now, like Frankie said a minute ago, is this the same Punisher? Is it a variant? Is it a multiverse thing? We don't know yet. So I want it to be the same, but considering Daredevil was obviously different, the small bit of Kingpin that we've gotten so far, he seems to not be the same version that he was on the Netflix stuff either. So odds are this one will be a little bit different, but we'll have to wait and see. You know what I
mean? And just in case anyone wants to know, they already have some guests confirmed for GalaxyCon this year, and looky who's going to be there.
Sweet.
Nice. That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, but hey, it's Charlie Cox, man. I'm like, I'd go up to his booth. Shit.
Where is GalaxyCon at? Which one is that?
Well, there's actually multiple. So every time I go to search for it, they're like, which one? Which state? I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, I'm happy about that. So I was like,
really. Here's the thing. What was the two lawyers that Charlie Cox worked with that were in that Punisher Daredevil world? What were their names?
It doesn't matter now. That's something I was going to bring up here in a minute.
Yeah, but that show was so good, man. Netflix's Daredevil was incredible. Like, you're bringing back everybody else. You got to bring them back too. Otherwise, it's going to feel not as good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the one thing that makes me feel like they may end up doing the whole variant thing. Like, we're not. Yeah. That's how they're going to explain that we're not getting the same version of Daredevil of Matt Murdock that we got in the Netflix stuff. Because as it stands right now, you've got Vincent D'Onofrio, Jon Bernthal, and Cox coming back to play Daredevil. So you got them all coming back from the Netflix series. But there's rumors that Jessica Jones is going to be involved. I don't know that for sure. From what I've heard, and I haven't heard anything about this lately, but from what I've heard, it's possible that because we're actually going to get Daredevil first in the Echo series, and supposedly most of his time in that series is going to be about him trying to find Jessica Jones for reasons that I can't really figure out. I can't fathom why you would need her, but whatever. And so maybe Jessica Jones will be involved. You have to figure she probably would be in some small way if he's spending his time in Echo looking for her. That's my guess. but not bringing back Marianne Wohl, who plays I don't know her name. I want to call her Janine. But that character and the Foggy character, neither one of those actors are coming back. They've both confirmed, and Disney has confirmed, that they are not returning to play those characters.
That sucks. That's too bad.
But just because they're not returning doesn't mean the characters aren't going to be there. Disney was very careful of saying that those two actors are not coming back. They did not specify whether the characters are still in the show. I feel like it would be weird to have the Matt Murdock character and not have Foggy, because one kind of goes with the other. Even in that really crappy Ben Affleck movie from years ago, they had Jon Favreau playing the Foggy Bottoms character, or the Foggy.
But that's kind of that movie's on that's on one of my good bad movies. Like if I just want to have fun with something, that's one of the ones I put in. I've had fun with that.
Yeah, but that's the weird thing about it. Look, like I said, great that they're bringing back Jon Bernthal. I honestly disagree with you, Tex. I don't think they did him dirty. I think they actually did that character very, very well. Even Jon Bernthal has said that he loved the way that they let him kind of use the PTSD background of what he would have gone through, having gone through everything he went through fighting in war. That he was glad that they let him explore that part of the character instead of just making him. Not that we don't like the Thomas Jane version from years ago. That was a really fun movie.
Oh that's not what I meant. I'm happy with the way that Netflix did Punisher. I like that. What I meant was they cut us off at the knees by only giving us 2 seasons. That I don't know. That was my biggest problem with
it. Well, in that effect, they did them all dirty. I mean, I like Luke Cage a lot more than a lot of people did. The last half of the second season didn't go very well. I wasn't fond of the way it ended, but then again, I don't like it when things end on a cliffhanger and they cancel the show. That kind of pisses me off. They did that with a TV show that I loved twice, and that really pissed me off. But I mean, look, a lot of that's Disney. I mean, you also got to remember what was going on at the time. You had 2 different people that were essentially running Marvel. You had Kevin Feige, who was running the movie stuff, and you had Ike Perlmutter running the television stuff. And those 2 guys were not getting along very well at all at the time. Like Feige and it got to the point where I've heard they wouldn't even walk in the same room together. Like they were not seeing eye to eye at all. And then eventually what they did was they just said, okay, Perlmutter is going to go away, and Feige, you run the whole damn thing. And he was one of the people, of course, with Disney, probably Bob Iger, who said, okay, we're bringing all this shit back in. So Netflix, don't make any more shit. You can have this for the next year and a half, 2 years, whatever. After the licensing is up, all of that's coming off. We're taking it. We're going to either do something with it or just put it on Disney Plus, and we're going to bring it all back under the control of the one thing, which was good. Look, Iron Fist was not great. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great. Jessica Jones, to this day, I still have not watched the last season of Jessica Jones. I watched about the first 20 or 30 minutes of the first episode, turned it off because I was busy, and I just never went back. I mean, one of these days I'll sit and watch it, but I mean, but it got canceled before the first episode of the last season even aired. So part of me was kind of like, why am I going to bother investing the time in it? Like I said, I liked the Luke Cage character a lot. The first season I thought was great. Second season, not so much. Daredevil, Punisher from start to finish was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. So it was kind of no-brainer that they would try to do something with Daredevil once they brought him back into the fold of the MCU. The question was just what and when. Obviously, he shows up in Spider-Man, that little cameo, just letting you know, or Spider-Man, just letting you know that he's there. Yeah, we haven't forgotten about him. Yes, something's coming. Just be patient. That was a nice little nod, just to let us know. But now we're actually going to get something, hopefully, which would be nice. But that's the casting news, is that they're not bringing.
The one thing I will give credit to Disney for when it comes to Daredevil is giving him the yellow and red costume. I thought that looked cool. I mean, obviously we've had the traditional red, and he had the kind of the primitive, the black cloth wrap over the head and whatever in parts of the show and everything else. But to go that comic booky with the yellow and red suit, which you wouldn't think would translate over well, it actually looked really cool. You know what I mean? I like that. So
one of my favorite scenes from She-Hulk is when she's going in there and talking to the guy to make her super suit. And and they start glancing into this one little hat box that has the
cowl.
The cowl, the helmet part of his. And he's like, right, don't look at that. And he puts a lid on it. And then you walk away. And I'm like, oh, shit, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, that was one of the more exciting scenes out of the entire series. But
he was the only point I paid he's the only reason I paid any attention to She-Hulk after that first episode. I watched that first, and then I said, I'm the only this show will only get enough attention to see when Charlie Cox shows up. Other than that, no, thank you.
And they waited too damn long to do it.
Well, they purposely, because honestly, if you think if She-Hulk gave you Daredevil in episode 3, are you watching any further? No, you're going to stop right there.
No, so they had to. You still didn't get me because I didn't even watch past the second episode, and I didn't even bother trying to get back into it when he did come in. So,
yeah,
you played yourself, Disney. Damn.
Me and Connor struggled with that show.
Well, see, that's one thing. Because at the end of Punisher season 2, we finally got full blown comic book Punisher, where he's got the van, he's got the vest, he's the overcoat, all the guns. We finally got full blown Frank Castle Punisher. I don't want to see another origin story. We don't need to go backwards. Just move forward. We know how he becomes Punisher, so just move forward. Don't go back. That's the one thing that I hope they do.
Well, that's one of the things I wonder about is it doesn't sound to me like they're going to be doing origin stories for anybody,
right?
Because they're going to do a lot of setup, and they're going to do a lot of setup in Echo too. So they're going to answer some origin-like questions in Echo, but once Daredevil starts that individual show, we're already going to have everything in place. It's just going to be plot. Let's go, and that's going to be one of the cool things. Hopefully, one of the things they'll do, either in Echo or in the first episode of Daredevil, is they're going to give us like a solid answer as to is it a variant or a different Matt Murdock, establish that guy, and then just hit the ground running and go. I don't really want to dwell on it all that much. Or explain where Foggy and what's your name? I forget.
Well, realistically, they only have to tell you if they explain where Daredevil came from, that's how you know where Punisher came from. Because they all came from the same place. So Kingpin, Daredevil, Punisher, if they bring back Jessica Jones, whoever it may be, they don't have to say it more than one time. So as you said on here before, one line of dialogue takes care of it. They can, justify which universe it's from and go on. That's all they need to do. So if they're smart, they'll go with the same versions that Netflix had. But knowing Disney, they'll probably want to do somewhat of their own thing, and it'll probably be a variant, if I had to guess. But we'll see.
Probably. But go down to the comments below, let us know what you guys think. How excited are you that we're going to be getting the Punisher back? Jon Bernthal is returning as Frank Castle, one of the second coolest Frank on the face of the planet. But yeah, we're going to be we're definitely going to be getting some banging ass shit coming out. And they've also said that while they're not going to be afraid to get rated R with things like Deadpool, that they are going to rein in a little bit of Frank Castle and the Punisher, which doesn't really bother me. But
oh God, no! Well, I mean, please,
you can make it pretty dope and make it PG-13, but
come on, it's Punisher.
I know
it's Punisher. I mean, they can PG up whoever else they want. Leave Punisher and Deadpool hardcore. That's what makes those characters so special. And Wolverine, yes. Yeah. There's a select list of comic characters that need to not have limitations put on them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think about Frank Castle returning for Daredevil Born Again or Reborn or whatever the hell it's called.
No, you know what's going to happen? The ATF's going to come for Punisher's guns, and that's going to be his fucking downfall. He can't use what he wants to use. Got it.
Punisher, Frank Castle, if you want these guns back, you're going to have to join the ATF. And instead of a Punisher skull, he's got an ATF badge on his chest. That's the new Punisher right there.
Shoot somebody. You're going to have to file for a tax stamp like everybody else. Right.
You're going to have to file a complaint. You're going to have to call your congressman. You're going to have to call your congressman, Frank Castle, something along those lines.
But let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. And moving on to our next topic tonight, one that I'm sure Tex is going to have a whole lot of fun with.
Oh, God, look at that abortion. Jesus.
Yeah, come on. Bad trailers. Sometimes there are bad trailers. The little Shreks are back in this first trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem from permanent teenager Seth Rogen. A new generation of heroes will rise, the nearly 2-minute trailer teases, straight from the sewer. The first in-depth look at the upcoming film shows the iconic turtles goofing around on the roof of a Manhattan building before they take on a mysterious crime syndicate with the help of their new friend April O'Neil. They soon find themselves over their heads when a mutant army is unleashed. Tex, we've talked about this already before we started the show. What did you think of the new trailer for the Ninja Turtles?
Well, he's putting on his Punisher vest. I think that's what's happening.
Sixes say I'm getting at the AR-15. We're going hunting, boys. No, I love the Ninja Turtles. I grew up on them. I was an 80s, 90s kid. It was huge. That was one of the things. Yeah. And some great versions have came and some god awful ones have came. This one might be the worst. I mean, from permanent teenager Seth Rogen, I've often wondered, what are the long-lasting results of marijuana use? And this trailer is it right here. If you need a physical or a visual embodiment of what marijuana does to the brain, just watch this trailer and you'll never touch the stuff again. Because what is up with this deal? I mean, obviously, yes, April's I guess Velma was so successful that they turned April O'Neil into Velma now too, because that's doing so good for HBOMax and everything else. What is that? That's not April. And yes, I know in the comic books, Kevin Eastman's wife was half black, half white. So in the comics, she looks like one thing, and that's fine. But that thing, no, that's not April O'Neil. I'm sorry. It's not. And the Turtles, I get it. Every iteration has to be different. You have to separate yourself from what came before. But that looks horrible. The animation looks like garbage. Why does Splinter have like a Jerry Curl mohawk thing? What is up with that? If you can get a good picture. Yes, like what?
I went back and paused and I'm like, did he have an afro? What was that?
Yes. I had to look, he's got like a Jerry Curl afro thing. Yeah. Like, what is this? The animation looks terrible. And I mean, of course, everybody, it's because of this that Spider-Verse movie, Into the Spider-Verse, whatever.
That's what I thought.
This looks like garbage. This looks like an unfinished project some college student did or something.
Well, smoking a lot of weed, probably.
Yes, it doesn't look good. And I get what they're going for. They want to go for the comic booky type art. If that's what comic books look like, I wouldn't buy them. This looks horrible. I will not go see this movie. I was excited for it. I was happy to see it was going to be in a 90s setting and everything else. But this looks horrible. There's nothing to be excited about for this movie. I mean, Leatherhead is being voiced by a chick. Why? I mean, if you know who Leatherhead is in the old, cartoon, he's a Cajun guy. I mean, it's just, there's so many little things here that, I mean, John Cena is Bebop or Rocksteady. I forget which one they said he was playing. He might be fine as that role. But it's just, this movie doesn't look good. I mean, this makes the 2007 animated film look like an Oscar-worthy film here. Obviously, this is just a 1.5-minute trailer, but this makes me just want to run from this thing. You know what I
mean? Jay, there's going to be a lot of opinions getting thrown around here in the next few minutes about this trailer. I mean, you saw it. What did you think of it?
I guess maybe I'm kind of on the fence, but maybe leaning more towards like Tex's opinion, where I'm like, I don't know what this is really supposed to be. I was like, I can defend maybe the animation because it looks like it's supposed to be like drawn like comic book. Like I said, Into the Spider-Verse was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, that looked fine.
Right.
That worked for what it was supposed to be. It almost looked like, if anyone, I know I'm going to pull the video game crap again. It almost looks like Borderlands, like the cell shaded, that style of like how the game's animated. It kind of looked like that, which I'm like, that's cool. I always liked that art style.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
There was a shot of somebody. It looked very like the cell shaded, like from Borderlands. And I mean, that's a video game. It works for that.
Right.
But I don't know either. I think I hadn't seen it yet, and you showed me. I didn't even see the trailer yet, and you showed me the April O'Neil. I was like, "Are you sure it's not Velma? That straight up looks just like her." Like, you didn't even like not try to not make her. Even if you, like I said, if you made her black, But you didn't even try to not make her look literally exactly like Velma. I'm like, okay, well, what the hell?
It's not even about being black or white. That's not the problem here.
No.
This is not the first time Velma. See, I'm doing it to myself.
I messed them up.
This is not the first time that April O'Neil has been black. Like I said, go back to the comic book. She was drawn as a mixed race woman, which is fine. That's cool. They're going to draw it that way. Cool. Obviously the most popular version is the yellow jumpsuited character from the 90s show.
The red hair, yeah.
But even in the newest, what's the newest cartoon? Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's the one that's on Nickelodeon now. They have her as a black girl over there, and nobody cared. Nobody said anything. It's not a race issue. It's that. That looks like Fiona from Shrek.
And I grew up with I grew up with Green Lantern being black from the Justice League.
Oh, John Stewart, John Stewart.
I just thought that was Green Lantern, and I was like, I forgot. There's multiple. I didn't get into the Lantern.
There's multiple.
Yeah. Then I realized, there's multiples. Like, okay, so that's who that was. I didn't know. I was a kid. I just thought, okay, cool. That's what that is. I had something. I was gonna say, to be fair, in the 90s, we did have a movie where we had a bunch of guys in some big goofy clunky ass like costumes doing martial arts and shit, and we thought that was fine. And to be fair, it is fine. It is a little goofy, but you have to admire the fact that they did do that in those big clunky suits.
Well, I mean, that's the difference though, is like putting it in live action gave it a different dimension. So it's like, there was the comic books, and eventually from the comic books rose the animated stuff that I grew up on, that you all, I'm sure, remember. And the action figures and all that were based on that. But it's like seeing it in live action was cool, because after things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, putting some of this animated or comic book stuff into live action form was cool. I mean, it was different. That was a new dimension. But now it's like,
I'm saying it looks a little dated. You're like, oh, God, these guys in these big turtle costumes kicking people's ass. I'm like, okay. But then we realized, then we got Michael Bay doing whatever the fuck that was.
I got to disagree. The 2016 film Out of the Shadows, the second one, I love that movie. Yes, I know Casey Jones was basically Green Arrow, because they even got the guy that played Green Arrow to play him in it. But, it was that was a lot of fun to watch.
I can't with Michael Bay. That's why.
I'm a Michael Bay fan.
I just saw those turtles and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what? It's like, I can suspend my disbelief a little bit. Like, I know something's animated. I don't know, but I'm just like, this just looks bad. Like, bad Michael Bay. Like, your whole movie looks too fake. And I can't do it. I'm sorry. When you got, the lens flares and the fucking explosions every 3 seconds because he's got to fill a quota or something for his explosions. Like, I'm just
got a checklist.
Well, and also I had to sit there and trudge through. I don't remember which fucking movie it was. I was zoned out the whole time. The third Transformers movie, because it was like a late showing of the very last Harry Potter movie I wanted to see, but I had to sit through that shit first. So I sat through I seriously, my mouth was open and I was just like drooling. I was like, what is this? What is going the hell on? Okay, cool. Harry Potter. Let's see how this shit ends. Go. So I don't know. I can't say that I'm like, I was, excited to see it. So I guess that was in the end where my opinion was going. I don't know.
Yeah, as far as April O'Neil, I just don't care. It's not important to me. I've said it 100 times. The skin color, gender, even mostly of the character doesn't matter as long as the character's good and the story's good. Here's my problem with this whole thing. The trailer itself was not awe-inspiring. It didn't bum me out. It didn't ruin anything for me, but it didn't really impress me either.
Yeah, I'm saying it didn't.
We're now on the 5th or 6th incarnation of this world.
Yeah.
And it's giving me the shit that I've gotten out of at least 3 of the other ones. Yeah. So it's like, what about, because it's honestly, it feels like it's the same characters with different voices every time one of these things comes out. Because Donatello's got his personality, Raph has his personality, so on and so on. Mm-hmm. It's just different people voicing him. So at one point you got to say, you have to give me something that adds to everything that I've always gotten from this thing since. If you're one of those people that goes back to like the early days of the original comics, like back to like 1980 or even, I don't remember when the original comics came out. Yeah. But it was
in the 80s.
But it was like, So it's like, what are you going to give me that's new? What are you going to give me that freshens this up enough to where it's going to give me another dimension to this world while still playing on the things that I already love about this world? None of these things do that. It's like
not even the funky afro, not even that.
Not even the funky afro. It was like that in and of itself was kind of a cool thing. It's like, oh my god, I've only ever seen these guys in the comic books or in cartoons and in comic book form. Now I get to see them in live action. That was cool. That was a different dynamic. But now they're not adding anything to it. Like Michael Bay's stuff, it was a little bit darker. It was a little more ragged. It wasn't as clean, a little more gritty. I kind of dug that about it, but for the most part, it was the same shit. Now, my question is, with things like, and I'm not trying to compare these two things. With like, we're getting stuff like Pooh, Blood, and Honey. We're getting, things like not quite Cocaine Bear, but I mean, we've got this Bambi horror thing coming out. The
Peter Pan thing.
Yeah, the Peter Pan thing. A lot of people don't realize, you guys might, because I think you guys are in the know, but a lot of people don't realize the original comic books that this stuff was based on, they were not really. They were not really colorful kids comic books. They were very dark.
No.
They were borderline R-rated. I mean, there was blood, there was some gore, there was some pretty heavy shit. Why not make a movie like that? Not quite Pooh, Blood, and Honey, but I mean, give it a grittier, edgier thing. I mean, make Splinter this jaded guy who taught them, the martial art. He taught them to fight. He taught them to try to do the right thing, but even he's still a little jaded. Make them a little jaded in their own individual ways, so that every now and again, one or two of them has to pull the other one's back to the brink, murdering somebody because their pizza wasn't cut right or whatever. I mean, something like that. Why not give this that gritty dimension that in both the animated and the live action, it's never been given, that was there in the original comic books? Why not go that route for a change? Instead of just letting Seth Rogen go out there and be like, oh, me and my buddies are going to go here.
That's basically what they did.
Hey, we're going to go here. Some ooze. We don't call it sludge. We call it ooze. And then
Ooze.
And goofy bullshit. It's like, why not be a little more? Why not go that route? Why not go like R-rated? Why not be gritty and murder some people and shit like that?
Well, didn't a few years ago, didn't canonically straight up, I think it was Leo died? It was in like a comic.
All of them died except for Michelangelo. They did a comic book story called The Last Ronin, and basically it was like an apocalyptic type setting. All of the turtles, Splinter, everybody was dead except for Michelangelo, and he wore black. He didn't wear the orange. He didn't wear any of that, and he had all of his brother's weapons, and he had to go avenge their death and whatever. It was dark. It was gritty. It was a tie back to the original of the Turtles, and everybody loved it. They made action figures out of comic books. Why don't they do that?
That's even better. I was like, I saw something that one of in some storyline, I think it was a comic book, one of them straight up died for real. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I was like, one of the turtles died for real? In a story. I was like, damn. All right.
Well, see, the one thing that doesn't make any sense to me about this trailer is they're obviously trying to emulate the 90s cartoon, right? So why not X-Men, the animated series, is coming back with the same animation. If you want to do the 90s cartoon, bring it back, do it in the same art style. Do it in the same style. People would love it. Put it on whichever streaming service you want to, and you'll make your money. You can make a movie out of that format. But what they showed us here, it just looks bad. It looks like it's not done, the animation, to me. It doesn't look like it was half-assed work.
It seemed a little clunkier. Yeah.
It did.
It wasn't as refined as like I said, with Spider-Man. Like that, you could tell it was kind of that weird comic booky animation, but this felt like the movement was a little more static and it just seemed a little weird. I don't know.
This looked like claymation that wasn't done well at times. Like if you freeze frame the trailer and look at it, a lot of times it looks like bad claymation. And I don't like the style of this. I don't like the way the characters are presented. Some of the voice cast is fine. I know Paul Rudd's in there, John Cena. They got Jackie Chan as Splinter. That's one thing I'm kind of interested to hear.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of good actors that are going to be voicing characters. I can't remember if John Cena was Bebop or Rocksteady. He's one of the two, but I can't remember. But they've got a lot of big names to play in this. But it looks like garbage. It looks like it's this looks like a movie that they made just like, the George Schumacher Batman films to sell toys. This is what this movie looks like. I'm afraid it's going to be one of those. So I don't know. We'll see.
When does this go fair use? Because I want the guys who did Boo Blood Night to get a shot at this one. It's like, go ahead.
That'd be great.
It's like
that'd be great.
That at least would be a different take. I mean, again, it's like it's the same stories, the same characters, different voices. How many times can I hear the same story about Splinter and them falling into the ooze, then mutating into human-like things, and him teaching them ninjutsu? It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I've been here. There's only so many times I can hear that story before I'm like, great, what else? And I completely lose interest the moment that they finish telling me.
If they wanted to make this different, it should have been in black and white like the comics were.
Well, it's like
that's how they should have made this.
That would have been something different.
It's like we know the story. Yeah, it's like, so, but what is the story that they're getting into here? It's like we know Batman's parents die. Okay, who the hell is he beating up this week? That's what we want to know. We don't care how he got here, Right. So I don't know.
That's the thing. It doesn't even really say who the bad guys are in this film, in this series. They're going to be the Foot, because we've seen that before.
No, it's the mutants. The name of the film is Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, but we've seen it before too. How many times have they fought Bebop and Rocksteady? They fought Bebop and Rocksteady in that terrible one with Vanilla Ice doing the whole rap scene. It's like, again, we've been here before. Like, it's like,
that one was Toka and Razor. That was Toka and Razor now. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that's essentially who they were, was Bebop and Rocksteady. We all know that.
Yeah, it was just different versions of it.
Just different names. But I mean, how many times are we going to watch the same thing play itself out? It's okay, they're going to find themselves in different situations, but I mean, I get it. How many? I mean, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. By about the 400th or 500th time they cross lightsabers, are kind of like, anything else? It's like, what else you got in your bag of tricks? This doesn't even have that rich kind of story. It never really has. But something like a Star Wars does. So you can't really rest on that either.
Well, if they wanted to reinvent and be different, considering since the 90s, every iteration has been animated, I think they need to go back to the live action guys in suits, because people still love those movies. The first two movies are amazing. I love both of them. Now, the third one is hot garbage. The one where they go back in time or whatever, that's just stay away from that thing. But the first two were amazing. And I think that's the answer. I mean, put the guys in practical suits, beef it up with some CGI. I think that's the way to go if they wanted to present differently. But they're obviously going for the younger market with giving you the actual teenage version of these characters, not the Michael Bay version where they were older or whatever. So, they're playing to the kid market. They're going to milk the toys. They're going to give you a fun design. Raph's going to have a tooth missing in front because, he's the rough and tumble one. So he got his teeth knocked out and whatever. And, Mikey's going to be the cowabunga, guy and whatever. So
cowabunga, son.
I love the Turtles, but not this version. But I guess this is, for the more
hashtag not my turtles.
Hashtag not my turtles. There we go. Get it trending, people.
Let me ask you guys this question before we move on.
Yes, sir.
There's one phrase that they hate to utter about any franchise, but is this a dead franchise?
I don't know. I wouldn't say dead. I would say mishandled.
I would say on its back and can't get itself up again, like a turtle. There you go.
It's turtled. The franchise is turtled.
It's kicking. Yeah, it's turtled itself. There you go.
Yeah, I want to say no because I've enjoyed this franchise at times.
Yeah.
But again, I don't fully want to call it dead. I think it's off. It's on life support. It's
We're almost turtle soup. We're almost there.
Well, here's the problem. It's owned by Nickelodeon, and when Nickelodeon bought it from Kevin Eastman, they've been milking this for everything that it's got, and it's never really it needs to go away for a while and make a big comeback. That's what it needs to do.
Well, even Nickelodeon can find a way to make this a much darker story without not being able to market it to kids. I mean, you don't have to show Raph like sticking his sigh up someone's ass or anything like that. It doesn't have to be that brutal. You don't have to have like some good old fashioned like early '80s horror deaths. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be like that. But you can make the stories darker. You can put those little spots of humor in it to kind of balance it out and kind of make it work on a Nickelodeon like channel for a while. But just doing the same old thing, it's like you're really limiting its potential both financially and creatively by not trying to do something drastically different and try to kind of remake the brand a little bit. I mean, because mutant turtles that know martial arts, that's a good baseline, but they haven't given us much more than that for the last 4 or 5 projects. It's the same old shit. They eat pizza, they joke a lot. That's the hallmark of every iteration of this thing we've gotten, and it's getting stale to me. You know what I mean?
You've probably never seen it or read the comic book, but Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Do you know anything about that?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it. I've seen pictures here and there.
Basically, it's where the two worlds meet, and like the ooze from the Ninja Turtle world crosses over into the Batman world, and all of Batman's villains become mutated animals like in the Turtle world. And they did two series of the comic run. Then they did an animated film about the first line of it. And I was surprised how dark they got with the turtles. Like, you straight up seeing the turtles killing people. But like when it comes to the death scene, like the screen will go black and you'll see red streak across the screen for a second to where you know what happened, but they don't show you what happened. But they do it in a friendly way where everybody from kids to a more elder turtle fan can like it all. So if you've never seen that animated film, it's put out by DC and Nickelodeon is the ones that made it. That's one I would recommend. Go watch that.
I don't know, maybe I'll give it a try. I kind of want. I mean, I haven't read too much of the original comic books either, but I kind of want to go back and try to dig into those a little bit, trying to get a feel for what the kind of stuff that I've described that I kind of would like to see out of this franchise at this point. Maybe I'll have to go back and get that. But I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Did you see the trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem? Did you like it? Are you excited to see it? I mean, I'll watch it. I can't say I'm going to do a weekly breakdown of the show or anything, but I'll give it a watch. I'll give it its attention. I think it's only fair. But go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Now, sticking in the comic book world for just a moment. Let's see. It looks like Clancy Brown is going to be joining the cast of The Penguin, the spinoff from the Batman on HBO. HBOMax is the Batman spinoff series. The Penguin has cast Clancy Brown in a recurring role, Variety has learned. Brown joins the cast and includes series lead Colin Farrell, who will reprise the role of Oswald the Penguin Cobblepot from the Batman. Brown will appear as Salvatore Maroni, a notorious Gotham City crime boss. The character was referenced repeatedly in the Batman, and his arrest by Gotham officials and the collapse of his criminal empire allowed for Carmine Falcone's organization to rise. Brown is not completely unknown to the DC universe, as he has repeatedly voiced supervillain Lex Luthor in numerous animated projects and video games over the years. Jeremy, let's go to you. Batman's your guy. This is in that world. What do you think of Clancy Brown joining the Penguin?
I mean, yeah, why not? Because the setting of the Batman seemed like it was that early. Like we got all the crime bosses running around Gotham still doing stuff. You don't have like the real big guys just yet. I mean, you got like Penguin. You don't have like the crazy like super villains and crap like Bane and Poison Ivy. So I always like that. Like we've been talking about that Batman Year One stuff. I'm like, this is maybe like Batman Year Two. Like he's kind of getting there. It's cool to see that kind of dynamic, and it's weird that like I don't know, Clancy Brown is like weirdly a dynamic kind of guy. Like, about range. I'm like, he goes from, Mr. Krabs to the fucking head security guy in a fucking prison in Maine, about to throw you off a fucking roof for talking shit about your wife, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, I still have trouble connecting those two. That I'm like, oh my god, that is him. Holy shit. So I ain't mad. And it is funny that he also voices Lex Luthor. So he's got his foot in the door there at DC. So I'm excited to see what this show brings, because, I mean, hey, we got crime bosses and all kinds of crap going on, and I don't know if they're going to make another movie, which I assume maybe they are. They have this spin-off, so I assume maybe there's more Robert Pattinson to come.
I bet there's more coming.
There's at least one more. There's at least one more coming. That's one of the things, the big question that was being asked when Gunn and Safran took over is what about the Batman and the Joker? These two things that happen outside of the DCU. Well, they said that they're just going to consider those things Elseworlds. Yeah. They're not going to be a part of the larger universe that they're building. Look, they're not going to give those things up because those things made $1 billion. If those movies would have tanked, it'd have been like, yeah, we're cutting the cord on that right away. But those movies made money, and those movies coming out with sequels that are going to make money is one of the things that's going to help Gunn and Safran make the movies they want to make. So they're not going to shit on that just yet.
It'd be dumb to not keep going with that, because I mean, you dropped off on like leaving Riddler in the next door cell to who we definitely is totally the Joker. Totally maybe kind of sort of the Joker. So there's more to be had with this, and I'm excited to see it happen. So even if it is just, it's starting to leave a bad taste in my mouth where we got like this Elseworld crap, because I'm like, oh, this sounds like Legends from Star Wars, which then became just non-canon. They're like, yeah, it's there, but whatever, who cares about it? I'm like, I care because I got into it. What the hell? Then you just gave me a middle finger, Disney, and we're like, nope, don't matter no more. I'm like, well, I'm glad I wasted my time learning all this cool shit about a franchise that I was really into. So, but I don't know.
I don't know, but Tex, what do you think? I mean, we've seen Clancy Brown in a lot of stuff over the last several years. What do you think about his addition to the Penguin?
Every time I read a comic that has Lex Luthor in it, I hear this guy's voice. I loved the Justice League animated shows. The dude, it's going to be real hard to not. I hope he puts on an accent, do something to the voice to sound different, because if he just uses the regular voice like he did for Luthor, that's all that people are going to see.
I mean, he's an Italian mobster, so
he's got to do some sort of Italian accent, do something, whatever. But I mean, he's a great actor. I've seen him in so many things. I'm a big fan, but obviously, my favorite would be him as Lex Luthor. I believe he was in The Following as well. I don't know if y'all ever watched that show. It was a crime drama thriller on Fox.
Was he in The Following?
I think he was. I'm pretty sure that he was.
Let's look.
Who is he in The Following?
I can't remember who. It was either The Following or Sleepy Hollow that he was in. He was in one of those Fox shows.
He was in Sleepy Hollow.
Was it Sleepy Hollow that he was in?
Was he really?
But he was really good in that show. I couldn't remember which one it was because The Following and Sleepy Hollow were on at the same time. But he's done a lot of cool stuff. His voice resonates when you hear it. So now I wasn't a huge fan of the Batman film. I don't like Pattinson's Batman, and his world was fine, but I want a comic book Batman. I don't need another real world Batman. I've had this discussion.
That was comic book Batman. He was the world's greatest detective. God damn it.
Yeah, but it was watered down Nolan stuff. For me, anyways. But like I said, that's a different topic. But bringing Clancy Brown onto anything is a good move. The dude's a solid actor. He's got a gravitas to him, a presence, and this is only going to make this better. I mean, Colin Farrell did do well as the Penguin. Yeah. You don't even recognize him. That doesn't look like Colin Farrell when you look at him as Penguin right there.
Right.
That's Colin Farrell on the right. You'd never know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like if you just show that somebody, you would never know that was Colin Farrell. Like it was. Now he didn't have a lot to do in the Batman, but obviously he was a minor character that's going to be featured now with his own series. So I am excited for this, even though I wasn't as big on the Batman film. So I think this is going to be good. They need to make this like the dark vibes that they had before, but kind of take it in a crime drama way, not the way that they did the Batman. So I'm excited for it. I think this is really good casting. Him as Salvatore Maroni. I mean, perfect. I mean, it's the dude. He's going to kill it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think he needs to put on an accent. I think he's a very imposing figure as it is.
Well, yeah,
I mean, because one of the things that I've always thought was great about his role in Shawshank Redemption is he's tall, but he's not particularly muscular. He's just got this
Right.
presence when he walks in a room that can humble even some very strong-willed men. So
I mean, yeah, when you walk in, you're like, if I so much as hear a mouse fart, you're all gonna go to the infirmary. I'm like,
and it's like every role I've ever seen him in, even the ones where he's generally kind of like the big teddy bear kind of guy. When he walks in, he commands. His presence is commanding. So I think that seeing him, like, I would imagine it's going to be a scene that looks something like he's like we'll first see him walking out of prison, and he's going to have like his disheveled suit on, like he just got let out. And he's going to walk it out, and he's going to kind of look around, and you're going to tell from the look in his eyes, he's like, this town still fucking belongs to me, kid. I don't give a shit if we've got, fucking whoever out here and Batman and Penguin, whoever the hell else has got shit going on. This shit belongs to me. Gotham is in my pocket. So you bring on whoever the hell you've got, and I'm going to show them that I run this shit. And that's going to be the kind of the tone that we get from him. That's going to be awesome. He's one of the guys that can carry it out. I don't want to see him do an accent for the sake of an accent. I mean, we've seen that happen a couple times, and most of the times it's unnoticeable. But I mean, you get like Kevin Costner and half the shit that he's been in. You get like, so I mean, it's not always easy. It's not always easy just to work with an accent or a dialect coach and get it right. It's like sometimes you're better off just talking. And just because he's got an Italian last name doesn't mean he has to put on a thick Italian accent and sound like Vito Corleone or anything. He just has to go out there and be the presence. Because assuming that he grew up in Gotham, maybe he won't have that thick of an accent anyway. Yeah. So assuming he didn't come over here from the old country from Sicily with Sophia Petrillo and all her hardcore gangsters over there in Sicily. But yeah, I just his presence alone, I think, is gonna command a lot of attention in the show.
I mean, didn't Colin Farrell kind of do an accent for the Penguin?
Sort of. I mean, he
had like that mobster kind of,
That was very specific. He's obviously got some things wrong with him too. I mean, just looking at him, I mean, look at this picture again. It looks like he's been through the ringer once or twice. He's got scars all on his face.
Yeah.
You can assume that he's been physically damaged to where his voice might have a different thing to it, a different characteristic. Whereas you would imagine that when he steps out, that it's going to be whatever. I just got out of jail and now I'm going to go run Gotham again. So unless he's had some severe physical damage, you can't imagine he's going to sound any different.
He might trade some punches and shit with Penguin because obviously, Penguin having that big club is kind of like an underground thing for all these criminals and shit. Like, they're going to be in cahoots with each other probably to, like you said, he gets out of jail. He's going to start up again. He's going to start doing all this shady stuff in Gotham. So that'd be a good place to start. And like you said, Penguin's got a good setup, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So. It is a shame that I've always wanted him to play a live action Lex Luthor though. I mean, I think it's perfect casting. Obviously, he's been voicing him since 2000. I mean, so it's not like it's new casting or anything. So,
you don't want Jesse Eisenberg back? Come on.
I actually liked Eisenberg. I thought he gave an off the wall performance, and by Justice League when you saw him bald and I mean the whole thing, I thought he brought it home. I don't think Jesse Eisenberg got a fair shake. I've always said that. I appreciated what he did with the character, and I wanted, just like with Jared Leto's Joker, I wanted more of both of them. But it didn't happen. So
it got a little more serious for me when he shaved the head and he kind of got that dark. I was like, oh, okay, there he is.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he went from the crazy kind of, you can tell he's troubled, to once they do the head shaving in BVS, like you could see in his eyes, he's playing this role differently now. Then that one scene that we got of him where he's sitting on the boat talking to Deathstroke.
With Deathstroke, I was like, he's sitting there like a boss like this. He walks in,
right?
Like, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the Lex Luthor I want to see. But Clancy Brown could give an older version of that. I mean, we've seen what he can do on film. So whether he's Salvatore Maroni or Luthor or whatever, dude can deliver. I mean, from Shawshank to Batman, he's done it all now. You know what I mean?
Give him that big fucking mech suit that Lex Luthor gets and whatever.
That'd be so sweet, dude.
That would be sweet.
Hell yeah.
But I don't know. We still don't know a whole lot about what this show is going to entail anyway. So it's hard to make too many assumptions. At least it's not wise to make too many assumptions because a lot of them would probably be wrong. Because what the hell do we know? But I don't know. Like I said, you can never go wrong by adding talent, and Clancy Brown is definitely talent. Oh. I mean, he might have been in some movies that weren't great or some shows that weren't great, but he has been great in them. He's one of those guys that gives solid performances every time he steps in front of the camera. So I'm down for this. Like I said, you need somebody who's going to look a little imposing, and who looks imposing when they walk into a room. Clancy Brown is one of those guys where even if he's got a smile on his face, when he walks in, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, you get kind of intimidated when he walks in.
Said, when he's got Andy Dufresne by the fucking collar, he's like staring at him like, you better start making friends, dude. And I'm like, Jesus.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think of Clancy Brown joining the Penguin series on HBOMax. I personally am very, very excited. I think it's going to be pretty dope. Now, on to the final thing. It's probably going to carry most of the rest of the show anyway. Is Season 3, Episode 2 of The Mandalorian released this week, and I thought it was very, very good. The second episode of Pedro Pascal's other show, The Mandalorian, dropped this week.
that other show?
Din Djarin and his little buddy Grogu finally arrive on Mandalore to a few surprises. Let's go right into what those are. Jeremy, what did you think of Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore?
Holy shit. I don't want to talk. I mean, a little surprise. I think there was a big fucking surprise right at the end. I mean, like, if you know, you know. I mean, because my stupid ass got into all the, lore and all the canon and stuff that's not canon and stuff that really isn't canon now. Honestly, I think this was a lot of fun. This was, like Frank even said in the last review we did for the first episode, there's going to be more Bo-Katan, and it's even, it might be some, it's like, there might be some clash there, but there might also be like hey, we're kind of on the same side in a way. You know what I mean? We saw a pretty capable Grogu, which, I mean, I'm always down for that. We, of course, had to fill a quota of always having, what's her damn face, the mechanic. I already forgot her name.
I loved her in this episode.
Pele. No, she's always fun, but I'm always just like, damn, we always got to keep coming back. It's probably because it's Tatooine, and you can't, Star Wars fan or not, you got to admit, we got to get off that damn planet. It's starting to piss me off. I know it's where it all started and fucking whatever.
It's all that sand. It just gets everywhere, and you just,
I hate sand. I know.
All that stuff.
It's cool. You're not
a real Star Wars fan if you don't hate sand. All right. Yeah. That's what I always liked about the Mandalorian himself. Is like, even when I think it was in season 1, it was like we've seen him as a capable fighter. He's a pretty badass dude, but I'm like, but he gets his ass kicked every once in a while. He got his ass kicked by that big monster that he eventually put the insignia of on his shoulder pauldron. So it's like he's not invincible. So it's, and you're going onto this planet that you assume is pretty hostile, which it kind of is. You see him get taken down a peg, and I mean, I already know people are going to make the comparisons of like, hey, look, it's like Joel. When Joel got stabbed and little Ellie had to go out there and go save his ass. I'm like, yeah. Ellie can't force push some big monster out of her path, but I'm like, yeah, but
Ellie would never have gotten back up that big ass cliff to begin with.
No. So I'm saying it's some weird similarities, but I'm not gonna be mad seeing Grogu do his thing. You know what I mean? Like, and the fact that like he understands him. I mean, he got out like go get Bo-Katan and he took right off. It's cool that he kind of, it's that weird, almost like that Family Guy thing where it's like, do we understand the baby? Do we not? I don't know. They get each other, but
how do they it's like everybody understands R2D2, and I'm like, he's just beeping. How do you know what the hell?
I don't know. I don't know. You must have taken that core in like high school, or that class in high school or something. I don't fucking know. I was something else I was gonna say, but I honestly don't remember. I'll save the big holy shit moment for the end because, wow.
Yeah, they are. Tex, I'm assuming you got a chance to watch the episode. What did you think of the new episode of The Mandalorian?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a simple plot. You knew we had one goal. I didn't know we were going back to Tatooine. Whenever I saw like the pod racing looking thing, I'm like, oh crap, this is really cool. Because I'm a big fan of the prequels. I always have been. Anytime I can get prequel love, I'm down for it. So we start out there, we get a couple minutes of that. He gets that R5 unit that obviously they stole the characteristics of R2D2 with the whole kind of talking back and fighting and arguing, and doesn't quite work right all the time, whatever. So it was fun to see the little back and forth with the Jawas and everything. And then he goes to Mandalore. And once it hits there, do y'all remember the old Beneath the Planet of the Apes films from the original, when they started making those movies? I got vibes of that movie when they were going underground, and that's a compliment, by the way. I thought it was really cool. I was impressed by this episode. I mean,
I was gonna say you're gonna see Charlie Heston down there at Mandal. You blew
That's what I was hoping for. Like, it had the Beneath the Planet of the Apes vibes for me, and I mean, Stepdaddy of the Year Pedro Pascal, he got a pretty episode this week. He just had to fly around and he got to sleep basically. So he slept
on a mattress for 3 fucking episodes in the last one.
Right. So. The last 2 episodes he hasn't really done much. You know what I mean? But hey, I guess other people got to pitch in on their fair share, right? So, but yeah, no, this was really cool. I thought at this point it goes without saying, but the graphics it looked great. It didn't look cheap. It was, when you're looking out on this vast underground city, it looks like you're actually there. It had depth, it had presence to it. I kind of I'm scared of heights, and whenever I saw them kind of take that leap and go down, I kind of took my breath a minute because
you just kind of jump down. I'm like,
right, it's just, how do you casually jump when there's there's no way I would ever do that.
Jetpack, I'd casually jump too.
You could show me stacks of $100 bills and say, "Just jump in there." No, I'll be broke. I'll be poor. Bye. I'm out of here. No way I'm doing it.
Just give me enough to fill the gas, and I'll be good.
But yeah, no, I thought the episode was a lot of fun, and I mean, I liked it. It was good. So I enjoyed it.
You say that him and Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are kind of on the same side. They're on the same side right now. Right. There is obviously some animosity, especially on her side, about the whole him having the Darksaber thing. You can tell their first interaction in the first episode that she's awfully fucking bitter about the position that she's in right now. Yeah, but
when she had that, some point, I'm surprised she gave it back.
Well, do you remember why?
She doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't actually.
You can't just be given the Darksaber. You have to win it.
Win it in combat.
Because he even said many times. He said many times, here, you can have it. She goes, no, I can't just take it. I have to win it in battle. He goes, well, I don't really want to fight you.
Okay.
Well, I can't just take it from you. I have to beat you in battle, or I can't have it. You have.
But I was wondering if she was even allowed to use it. Period. Because I'm like, his gun was right there too. You could have taken his gun, but she took the saber.
Well, the interesting thing is, you notice how he always has trouble wielding the Darksaber?
I was going to say, that was the big point, was to show that she
threw that fucking thing around like nothing. Like she had been using it forever. Yeah. So there is probably some level of whatever that I'm sure they're going to explain at some point that he doesn't have that she does. She is royalty after all. She is royalty after all. But, you guys were talking about feeling like Planet of the Apes. One of the vibes that I got when they first go into the cave and those little fucking gorilla things fall from those holes in the ceiling.
Yeah.
I actually got vibes. You guys remember the old Time Machine movie from back in the late 60s?
The Morlocks. I thought the same freaking thing. I think they're Morlocks.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, holy shit, that reminds me just of that scene because humanity gets driven underground because the moon explodes or something. How it goes. And some of these people that went underground became these kind of like chud looking things, and they ended up having to fight them in that movie. That was kind of the impression I got. Was I was like, it reminds me a lot of that scene.
Well, but, say my young buck personality was like, it reminds me of The Descent when they go into the cave and those little fuckers are crawling.
I thought about The Descent, but it didn't feel like that to me. It was a little bit different.
I thought of that, like, we're underground, and there's like these weird feral beings down there, like humanoid beings. I was like, Jesus.
Now, Jeremy, you might know, but what was the creature that was in that mech suit that actually captured him? Is that a thing from Star Wars, or is it something?
Was the other thing. That was what I was about to go to. Actually, I don't remember anything about that from what I know about Star Wars lore. I don't know if there's anything you know that I don't, Jeremy.
I was trying to, because I was like, it looks like something that's on life support. I don't think it's just a mech. Like whatever that was inside, and there was the tubes and all the crap. I'm like, it's like a general Grievous thing. I'm like, I don't know who or what that thing is, but it's a living organism inside of this mech suit. And I don't know why. I was like, I don't know why. I don't know what that is. I'm like, I feel like that's important, and I'm dropping the ball here. Like, I'm trying, because I mean, what was it in which damn show? Because all the stuff that Bo-Katan's talking about was from the shows, the pre when Mandalore was at its peak, and then it kind of went downhill real fast. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up. I thought you were about to say what was that big thing at the end. I'm like, oh, let me fucking tell you what that thing is.
Well, I figured that. Well, I mean, we'll get to that. I mean, obviously,
that's a big deal.
Din Djarin is looking for this shit. He runs afoul of this General Grievous-like creature thing that I'm sure you guys probably noticed. It doesn't really inhabit that entire suit. It actually just kind of inhabits like the helmet. It's a smaller creature.
Yeah.
So when he thinks that he's killed this thing, it just pops off that body and then kind of scampers off to the big mechanical spider, a la fucking Wild Wild West, and havoc again. I thought that was kind of interesting, but I mean, what was that? I kind of wonder because obviously it's a smaller thing.
I'm looking because this thing says season 3's Mandalorian cyborg monster is the creepiest Star Wars villain yet, and it's kind of like a weird, not predecessor, but to General Grievous. That's what I'm looking at now. I'm like trying to figure out what the hell this thing was.
But moving on from that, Yoda, baby Yoda, rather not Yoda, does end up escaping and going and getting the help of Bo-Katan. He actually kind of autopilots the ship back to Bo-Katan, gets her. They take her ship back, and then they go back down there, and she ends up, like I said, wielding the Darksaber and completely wrecking shop to save Din Djarin. And she kind of nurses him back to health a little bit. But there was some pretty good conversation that goes on in that too, especially when she decides to help him go find the waters of Mandalore. Like that conversation where she kind of reminisces about what it was like when Mandalore was this beautiful place, this great metropolis. It really wasn't that long ago that whatever happened. But I mean, it looks like this place has been abandoned for like 100 years. It's very, very odd. Maybe it's because vegetation grows a lot faster on that planet than it would on Earth. But yeah, I thought that conversation was actually really telling because while I'm sure there's some kind of a confrontation coming between those two, there was a moment where they were kind of at least on the same level and kind of understanding one another at that point. I mean, did you get that text?
Oh yeah, no. Whenever Din and Bo are talking, I mean, she even goes as far as to say like, well, now we live in a world where Mandalorians are killing each other, and it really doesn't make sense why. I mean, so you could, or I could at least feel that kind of inner conflict with her where she resents Din, but, she kind of wants to, I mean, she obviously rushes to his aid. So it's kind of I kind of love you, hate you kind of relationship thing or whatever. But you could feel the push and the pullback, and especially her being back in the world where she ruled. She was number one. She was, the princess. She was, it there. And, it's very, that would be a very emotional thing for anybody. But, you could tell there's a struggle, but they played that very well. They showed all sides of the emotions that something like that would conflict with. So, and then, of course, you have the Mandalorian himself. You've got Stepdaddy Pedro over here where he's not even from this planet. This is his first time ever here. He says, I'm from that moon over there. I've never been here. He never had was it Pog or Pug soup? What did they call it? I can't remember exactly. Huh?
Yeah. Pog soup.
Pog soup, yeah. He's like, oh, well, what is this? And then she's like, well, people,
if you were a real Mandalorian.
Yeah, if you were a real Mandalorian, since you were his age, if you were worth your armor or whatever, however you said. But it was, you could tell she's steeped in the lore and the history of her world and people, and Din is as well, but he's the outsider. He was never.
He's a foundling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what it makes it so special for him to want to go bathe in the waters of Mandalore to purify, rebaptize or whatever. Yeah. So I guess technically has he done that now? Since he kind of got dragged down, but he's been in the water, so I guess he's good to go now, right?
Of all the things he got dragged down by, though, holy shit, that was part
of
the thing.
Yeah, I'm not even sure old Luke Skywalker could handle that thing.
Well, you're not supposed to, because
apparently in Star Wars they have the thing you just put in your mouth, like
the rebreathers.
The rebreathers.
Oh, the rebreathers.
I would imagine they still have those things laying around. And
he said he's like, I'll pressurize my helmet. I'm like, you
should say, yeah, he did pressurize the helmet when he got out of the Starfighter.
She dove right in the water and went all the way down there with no problem. So I would assume
she lit that fucking. She lit her jetpack on and just went through the water. I was like, damn, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well that would work underwater, but hey, good luck figuring that shit out. You know
Hey,
Star Wars man up.
As long as the fuel has an oxidizer, it could burn underwater.
True.
Thrust might be a different thing. I mean, whatever. Like I said, turn your brain off and just enjoy the show sometimes. But, you know, she does walk him down the waters of Mandalore. All three of them end up going down there, and he starts to take off some of his important things. He leaves most of his armor on, and then goes into the water. He recites the oath again, and then gets pulled underwater by something we do not yet at that moment know what. And Bo-Katan makes the quick response to go to jump in there after him and go down and get him. He gets dragged all the way down to what I'm sure would be a body crushing depth for most people, but maybe the Beskar armor protects him. I don't know. And she pulls him back up, but on the way back up, we do see an interesting shape of a very cool monster that looks a whole lot like the Mandalorian logo.
Because it is.
I just because it is. When I say it looks a lot like it, it's because it looks dead like it. I mean, Jeremy, you seem pretty excited about this. Why don't you clue us in on what that is? Because I don't remember the name of that particular beast off the top of my head. But give us education on this.
You want to learn the ways of the Mandalore? Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, I think even Bo-Katan mentioned it a little bit. There's a reason why. I mean, you've seen it on. Back in the days, you've seen Boba Fett's armor. It's on his, it's his little insignia too. The main thing is it's called a mythosaur. Jesus. But now I want mythosaur. So now I want to change the name to a realosaur because holy crap, it is actually fucking real. Because the legend is that there was this giant, mythical beast that the first Mandalore were able to tame, and it was a very rare thing. But that's what became it. You've seen the skull. The skull of it is what that main insignia is of all these Mandalore. And the legend has it that it is in the caverns down there where in the water. So, and if you notice and this is that thing where it's like they may have their differences, like Bo-Katan and Din Djarin may have their little spats. Because even, she said, like, I was on this planet, and he said, like, oh, look, I grew up on this moon over here right outside of Mandalore, And that's why she looks at him that way, like, oh, you're the kid on the other block on the moon. Fuck you. You can't sit with us, basically, is what she's saying. But it's like, even that, you both understand. Well, he may have been kind of knocked out, but, like, you both understand that thing. That is, like, that's your thing, because you notice when she comes up, she sees that shit, that the air like comes out of her fucking helmet. She's like, seeing it. I mean, I would shit my pants too. But if you just saw that mythical being that is like, the main insignia of your entire race, that would be a holy shit, come to Jesus moment. And yeah, you also want to get the hell out of there because as a wise Jedi master that looks a lot like Liam Neeson once said, there's always a bigger fish. So
this is true.
It's it's that they would ride that.
You guys talk for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, because I'm like they would ride those things. I mean, how badass it is that you have like a race of Mandalore riding those things in the battle and shit. So I'm like, I want to see Danny Trejo come back.
Oh yeah! Oh god, that'd be cool. Yeah.
I hate that he just left right then because I'm like, I wanted to say, I hope Danny Trejo comes in and is like, all right, I'm gonna.
If we could just one time get Danny Trejo welding the dartsaber that's very much machete-like,
he's like,
that would be incredible.
He's like, this is no machete. He can pull like a fucking little one or something. Oh man.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. It was the design of the creature. What was the name? In the first Lord of the Rings movie, when Gandalf fights that big creature, you shall not pass the Balrog way. It looked it was very similar. I mean, obviously we didn't see a lot of it, but what we did see was very similar to that. I mean, I thought it looked cool. I liked it.
It's got like that long. I mean, if you've seen the insignia, it's got that long face and the two big horns that come out of the side. So yeah, that's. I mean, I think I looked up. I was trying to make sure I was, correct on that. I'm like, that is the mythosaur, right? Because I mean, I think I'm about 98% sure it was.
Right.
One of the things said like, oh yeah, this last episode of The Mandalorian kind of just fucking changed everything. I'm like, yeah, now we've seen it. Oh my dear God. Whoa. So I'm hoping that wasn't just a one-off. I mean, it's kind of important that it is there, but I'm like, I mean, cool. Boba Fett can ride his cute little Rancor, but I'm like, but if now Din Djarin like rides that fucker, you come back to the armor and with that thing and be like, I dare you to tell me I'm not a Mandalore because I have the saber, I have bathed in the waters, and I rode this bitch all the way back here.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously,
it should be like the Pawn Stars guy. Like, best I can do is like another piece of armor. Sorry. That armor is getting on my damn nerves. I'm like, how are you going to sit here and tell him he's not a Mandalorian when he literally has the Darksaber? What?
Well, they've really tore the character of the Mandalorian down to rebuild him into the Mandalorian, as the title of the show would so say. So I like what they're doing with him. They've obviously he had a more simple role in this episode. Didn't really say much, didn't do much. You had Grogu flying back. You had Bo coming back to save him. She carries most of the conversation. One of the things I did really like about this episode, though, was when him and her are walking and they're talking about how Mandalore's past with the Jedi, and how even at times we stood, or we fought side by side and all of these things. I think it would be really cool to see some flashbacks to that kind of stuff. I don't know if they'll do that or not, but I would love to see that at some point as they go into the past of the planet Mandalore itself. Maybe you could get like maybe a Qui-Gon and an Obi-Wan coming back, something along those lines. Something, even if it's a lesser Jedi, something would be cool to see like that as well.
That is what the point of the Darksaber is, because I mean it's actually been around for a long damn time. The first Mandalore made that thing, and it is who was trained in the Jedi way. So you do have a Mandalorian who was kind of trained in Jedi arts. So so it's a weird bridge between the two, and that's the thing that was so special about it, is that you kind of have that same, kind of like a gray Jedi in a way. It's somebody who's not really one or the other. And like you said, they got along, and then eventually, as we know, they fought a war with the Jedi, which is funny because I'm pretty sure they won it because they're like, laser bolts, no, real bullets, dodge that shit. You know what I mean? Because that shit will fragment when you block it with a saber, and it will still kill you. So.
Stormtroopers here.
Yeah, I know Mandalorian's pretty damn smart. You can have all the little space magic you want, but I mean, Han Solo said it: "Hokey religions and ancient weapons, no good match for a good blaster at your side." So,
right. Hey, Han shot first.
You did. You always shot first. So yeah, and I think maybe the big point of Frank missed my fucking. I was like, hey. Maybe we should have call up our old buddy Danny Trejo and go down there and tame that beast in the water and bring it onto the surface for us. Because I want Din Djarin to ride that bitch back to, he's gonna make Boba Fett's little Rancor look really cute next to him in comparison. But I think maybe the point was that we saw Bo-Katan use the Darksaber like it was like nothing. I'm like, that is the point. Is I think they did mention it before. I think it might have been in the Boba Fett episode when Din Djarin was using it against those guys. It's like he was struggling. I'm like, yeah, it's a weird, like you kind of have to be. It's almost like Mjolnir. You kind of have to be destined to use it or be trained.
Yeah.
You have to like really feel the connection to it because it is like a lightsaber. I mean, the lightsabers are technically living, and it's like Harry Potter. Your wand has to be like connected with you, or it's not as strong. It's not at its peak.
So is she force sensitive then?
See, that's where it gets weird. Like, no. Like you said,
because she even asked Grogu in this episode, how force sensitive are you, or something like that.
Yeah,
when they're walking back to go save Dan.
Yeah, because she's like, I've known some Jedi. I'm like, all right, but
right.
I still would love to hope that the Force is still kind of that weird thing that's like, oh, if you believe in it enough, you could do it, and you really have to be dedicated to it. Because that's how I always thought like the Force should have been. It's not just you won the genetic lottery and you're like basically space Jesus now. So I'm like, whatever.
It's not like in the prequels with the midi-chlorians and
that's the one
whatever
thing
that were introduced.
That's the one thing I don't like about I was like, no, don't put a like a value on it. That ruins the mystique of it. That it's like that like Obi-Wan said, the original Alec Guinness Obi-Wan said, it surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. I'm like, that's good enough for me. I like it.
Right.
No, it's just remember
I'm trying to look at the Darksaber because I'm kind of curious as to what its background is, but I can't find it.
Like I said, no. You, son, there's a whole. Like I said, it goes back, and it's. You know what's funny? It's one of those things where it's like, the reason why it has so much lore is because it was just it was just an actual blade. And like when I can't remember what the guy's name was when he fought Obi-Wan with it, it was just a blade. And then George Lucas was like, I don't want some bladed, like actual bladed weapon competing with a lightsaber. So then they literally, since it was already shaped like a blade, they literally just was like, okay, put the thing over it. Now it's a Darksaber. You know, the reason why there's so much lore with purple sabers and sabers in general, it's just because Samuel L. Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber. Right. It's a damn joke, but then it became lore.
Hey, it looked cool. I mean, it was one of my favorite, from the whatever. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But like we said, she is, as much as I want to tell her to piss off and quit being so whiny, she is royalty, and that's why she did pick that thing. That does help. It's like being worthy of it, and that's why she just swung that thing with ease. And that's why Din Djarin is having such a hard time with it, because he doesn't, I'd like that to be a character arc. I'm like, maybe he'll start swinging it a lot better now, because it sucks to see someone who is very capable at fighting not be able to do this to his best of his ability.
Well, do you think tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but is there like a love-hate kind of thing going between Bo and Din here? Like, how do you think this goes for them? Like, do they kind of side, or is there a clash? Where do you think it ends up?
No, I think it's coming.
Yeah, because you do have these two people that are very different ideologies of this same,
Right.
But that's what the problem is. They've grown up their whole lives that one way, so they're having a clash here, which is unfortunate. She even does kind of say, "This is dumb. Like, why are we fighting each other? It doesn't make any damn sense." But
whenever his starship arrives, back to her place, she's even like, "Yeah, well, it's time to end him or something of the sort." I forget the exact line. She's going after full, huh?
I noticed that too. She had this kind of tone, like, I'm just going to kill this fucking guy. I'm tired of him.
Right. She wants to kill him, but
Grogu, and then
as soon as she sees him, she's like, "Oh, what happened?" I'm like,
"Where is he?" Yeah, she's like, "Oh, let's go save him. Let's go risk our own butt and, do what we need to do here."
The only thing that seemed kind of comical was I was like, how close she was to shit. I'm like, you don't see his helmet, that he's not there.
Right.
You don't see that he's definitely not there until it opened up. You see Grogu poke his little head out. I'm like, that should have clicked a lot sooner. I'm like, that's just me being nitpicky. I'm like, you definitely were like 3 feet from the ship and you didn't know it. It's a small starship. He couldn't have been hiding somewhere. He wasn't going to pop up and be like, surprise. What the fuck? Maybe it was like, maybe she had to be like, maybe I should, because if that means, they came back and he didn't, he's down there, but, kind of keep your enemy close. But it's, I don't know. She did jump in there after him without even hesitating. So I don't know.
I guess to kind of equate it, it's kind of like a Batman Catwoman kind of thing, There's feelings there, but ultimately at the end of the day, they're on opposite sides. If that makes any sense or whatever. Yeah. But it was, it's played very well. Obviously Pedro Pascal, he's very cold in this show at times, whereas, like in The Last of Us, he's more emotional when it comes to a lot of times. So he shows the colder side of himself, but with Bo, this episode showed a lot of her passion that she brings to it, especially when she's talking about Mandalorian, all of these other things, really getting into it. And obviously this was, a show, one of the episodes for her to shine with. So, I thought it was good. It was better than last week. It's, it was like 44 minutes. I think this episode was 40 or 44 or 45. I can't remember.
Something like
that. I thought it was very well done. I like the simple storytelling. It felt very old school. It wasn't too convoluted. You didn't have 2 or 3 story plots going on all at once. Like I said earlier, you got your mission, let's go do it. And, I thought it went well.
And our side mission of getting IG-11 back online. That's the only thing going on. Yeah.
He needed a memory chip, and they haven't made those in 20 years or whatever they said. Yeah.
Of course. Although she acts like they don't have parts for stuff, and she immediately rolls them back out, and she totally just dick that guy over.
Like, tells the Jawas to go strip another speeder or some nonsense.
Paint it so it looks different. I'm like, God damn it, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Hey, that's how it goes on the outer rims, though.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah,
she said it was the pod racing week, so she's like, "Hey, money's coming in, so maybe go away for like 2 months." I'm like, "Right." Well, I fix your shit.
Have we ever seen what was his name from episode 1? The pod racer, Sebulba.
Sebulba.
Was that his name?
Yeah, Sebulba.
Has he ever popped up anywhere else in Star Wars? I haven't seen it since episode 1.
Maybe in the animated stuff, but I don't think otherwise. No.
Okay, I didn't know if he had it.
This is after like return. I mean, I know he's an alien. I don't know how long he lives, but this is after.
Right, that's why I asked. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, here's an interesting question. Now that we've gotten the events of this particular episode under our belts, now instead of Din thinking what all the other Mandalorians have told him, that the surface of Mandalore was uninhabitable, that nothing can live there, now he knows that's not the case. Does he take this information back to other people? Because I would imagine he wants to go back to the blacksmith lady and say, "Hey, I've bathed in the waters of Mandalore.
Guess what?
I'm no longer an apostate. I now am redeemed in the eyes of Mandalore." I would imagine he'd like to go back and tell her that. But on top of that, he's going to say, "Hey, also in other news, we can go back to Mandalore. We can maybe try to start putting shit back together over the course of a couple of generations." I'm kind of wondering how that news is going to go over. Do you think that's going to be a major plot point moving forward this season?
It has to be.
It could be, because I mean, like I said, this is after everything's all happened that we all know about already, with the Mandalorians losing their home. So if we're about to start trying to rebuild this, I mean, sure, because really the only thing it's we're in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, which is still, I mean, even so, a couple decades down the line, maybe at least a decade. So I don't know.
Was Mandalore shown in the sequels that Disney made?
No,
I don't think Mandalore has ever really been.
It's not been explored
at all, with the exception of maybe some of the animated stuff.
Yeah, like the animated stuff.
Maybe the books.
Yeah, because like I said, we've seen Bo-Katan in the animated series. So
there have been some of the written stuff. Some of the novels have centered pretty hard around Mandalorians. I think that's one of the things that kind of made them want to expand into this Mandalorian, like looking
they gave
at
us more
Mandalorian and kind of watching the journey, is because
Mm-hmm.
some of the writing, some of the novels have kind of discussed this existence, sometimes good, sometimes bad, between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. So maybe I've only read one of the books, and that wasn't the one that I read, but I know that there's been some Mandalorians on the cover of a couple of the novels. So maybe it's been approached in that way, but I don't know about, definitely not the movies that I can remember.
Well, I mean, I asked because if they never showed the planet Mandalore in the Disney trilogy, they're not tied to a image or a future. There's no, like, they haven't been painted into that corner yet. So technically, I mean, I'm sure Disney's going to ride the wheels off this Mandalorian thing, because it's probably their hottest commodity that they have, at least for the Plus, streaming service. So, I mean, they could. How do you not make rebuilding Mandalore your main plot point? At least a side plot, for a whole season or whatever.
Because now you've got literally the leader of the Mandalore. Now he's got the
right. You've got the leader of the planet on the planet. It's habitable, and if Bo and Din and everybody's goal is to reunite Mandalore to where they're not senselessly killing each other for no reason, well, here you go. You've got the opportunity now.
Like she said, just wave it around and they'll follow you. I'm like, all right.
Right.
So
it would make sense. I mean, you would have to do it.
You might want to, maybe put a big call out there to all the other Mandalorians, like, hey, come help us out. The planet's fine. Come on in. The air's fine.
Come kill all the Morlocks and the ocean creatures and live here again.
You might have to do some cleanup, but
I found a little bit of background on the Darksaber. It says, once a glorious world, the surface of Mandalore was laid waste by war, leading Duchess Satine. It looks like crazy, but I know that's not it. Maybe Krzi, I don't know. To renounce the planet's violent history and declare neutrality in the Clone Wars. Satine's pacifism was opposed by Death Watch, an underground movement of armored warriors that celebrated Mandalore's martial past and sought to overthrow her. Late in the Clone Wars, Darth Maul took over Death Watch and led the conquest of Mandalore. He executed Satine and installed a puppet prime minister as the planet's new ruler, sparking a new chapter in Mandalore's violent history. Satine's sister, Bo-Katan, refused to support Maul and helped his greatest nemesis, Obi-Wan Kenobi, escape capture. Years later, the Empire occupied the once proud world. Sabine Wren, a Mandalorian rebel, returned with the Darksaber looking to unite her people and strike back against the Imperial tyranny. With Bo-Katan and several clans, she destroyed the Empire's Mandalorian armor targeting weapons. Sabine then gifted the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, and the clans aligned under her leadership. So that's that. I don't know if it's going to go exactly that route in this movie, or in this TV show, but that's a little bit of the stuff that I found about the Darksaber, where its origins are, where it comes from.
I mean, it's been around for a hot second. Trust me, a lot of people have had it. One of them, being Darth Maul, which is fun.
I'd so love to see Darth Maul back live action. I mean, even for a one episode flashback or something. I mean, he's probably my favorite Star Wars character. I'd love to see him in live action one more time. I know the whole deal in the Solo movie didn't go great, but I think it could be. I think if Jon Favreau had the opportunity to do it right, I think it would be accepted. You know,
you could. I'm sure Ray Park would still do it, man.
He would. I mean,
he loves that character.
I've seen. I don't know how many times I've seen him talk about wanting to redo Maul or this, that, or whatever. So I think it'd be cool. And you don't have to do the stupid robot legs. You could do the regular robot legs that he gets after that or whatever. So
yeah, the spider
ways around it.
It was a little weird.
Hey,
but...
hey, I'm down for some cool, 8 legs of a spider. I think that'd be awesome to see. But I'll take what I can get.
As goofy as that may seem, it's like whatever. It's Star Wars. Who cares? And also,
just to say, it's no different than there's tiny little Jawas that strip cars and leave them on cinder blocks. How is that any worse? You know what I mean? And in Star Wars, you can do anything.
I mean, it's like it didn't really surprise me that people could have. We have life support systems and stuff like that, so it's not out of the realm of possibility to have cybernetic enhancements. Because we saw what's her face with Boba Fett. He saved her life and basically put the robotic parts into her to keep her alive. So,
Okay, here's a bit more. This comes from Rebels. I haven't watched an episode of Rebels, so I don't know.
I haven't really watched much of that, to be fair.
It is established in Star Wars Rebels the Mandalorians had colonized other worlds such as Concord, Dawn, and Crow's Net. The Mandalorians eventually came into contact with the Old Republic and fought their Jedi protectors. Upon seeing the Jedi's force abilities, the Mandalorians created gadget weapons and armor to counter Jedi abilities, which is interesting. I didn't know there was a way to counter Jedi abilities.
That's what I was saying. They use real bullets because those will fragment and still kill them. A laser bolt just gets absorbed.
Despite the animosity between Mandalorians and the Jedi, Tar Vizsla became the first Mandalorian Jedi. As a Jedi, Vizsla built the Darksaber and used it to unite his people as their Mandalore. During Star Wars Rebels, a Mandalorian named Sabine Wren of the clan Wren discovers the Darksaber from Maul's hideout. With the Darksaber, she hoped to unite Mandalore and get her honor back after creating a weapon that would kill Mandalorians. Upon returning to Mandalore, she gained the support of her estranged mother, Ursa. Sabine and her mother had differences of opinion as her mother turned to the Empire for support. Ultimately, House Wren sides with Sabine with the Darksaber. She rallies Clan Wren and takes arms against Clan Saxon, which has the backing of the Empire. After Saxon is defeated, the Empire seemingly backs off from Mandalore, and Sabine renounces ownership of the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, sister of the late Duchess Satine Kurzee, who promises to unite all Mandalorians and the clans under her leadership and restore peace to the Mandalore, which is kind of what
you see where Kate Sackhoff is coming from. That's why she's a little pissed off sitting in her throne with nothing to rule. You know what I mean? That's got to be frustrating. As much as I'm like, screw you, it's still got to be frustrating as hell. A lot of back and forth with this Darksaber and everybody trying to have the same damn goal of trying to bring them all together. But that's why I'm saying I don't really understand why she's got such a rough spot here with Din Djarin, because he, it's like two different forms of Christianity. It's like, just because you do this and I do this, I'm like, yeah, but we understand we're the same. We have the same God here. It was in the water. You saw it.
I might be a Pentecostal and you're a Baptist, but
right,
it's all going to the same route.
That's what I mean. Like, we're all going to the same great gig in the sky or underneath. I don't know.
Right.
So you're going to the stairway to heaven or highway to hell. I don't know.
That highway to hell is probably more fun if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's a straight away.
Point of view, I guess.
It's not a lot of stairs. I'll drive. I don't want to go up some stairs.
Is there an escalator? Can I take an escalator? I don't like stairs.
I'm saying maybe that's the best metaphor for it. I'm like, it's easier to drive down the highway than climb a bunch of damn stairs.
That is true. That is true.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I thought Grogu was a lot of fun this episode. I mean, obviously he's the.
You see him just push that thing out, and he's just like, "Yeah, get out of my way."
Right. I mean, I knew what was coming whenever he's by himself trying to exit the cave, and that Morlock-looking creature pops up, and they show like the wide-angle shot of the whole cave front. I'm like, "Yep, the thing's about to come flying at me," and it did, and I still laughed and enjoyed it because it was hilarious and cute. So and he just kind of floats out this little cup thing that he floats around on. So it was. Now, question. Whenever they when they leave Tatooine, he's not in that flying deal, but he's back in it when they get to Mandalore. Does he have more than one of these things, or was that just a continuity error?
I think it's just a continuity error.
Yeah, because he said
I noticed that too, but the reality is it doesn't matter.
Yeah, wait a minute. He jumped out of this into the Mandalorian's lap here. Why are you back in it now? I don't know. Maybe they've got spares. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe because he said like, "Go stay in your pod and close the hatch."
Right.
I'm like, well, that means the cockpit's not enough. Like, he put him in there. I'm like, is he saying so if I open this up, stay in your pod, which I assume is in the starfighter? I don't know.
Rachel says they couldn't give us an elevator to head.
Right. Yeah. So she said the highway's more accessible, man. That's true. There's probably pit stops at least. Damn it!
Could there at least be a carpool, something that we can make it easier? I don't know.
If I'm on the 7th flight of stairs up there and I gotta pee, it's like, well, I'm peeing over the side. I don't care.
But I mean, does Grogu even need Ben at this point anymore? I mean, he just flew himself back to somewhere. I mean, obviously he's younger, but he's very capable. Is this just more of a partnership than a father-son thing? I mean, where are we at in the time scale here?
I do appreciate that Bo-Katan didn't even hesitate. She called him his dad. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's
like I don't know if she was getting self-conscious because she was even like, "What are you looking at, man?" I'm like, "What are you looking at?" Because she's like, "Wait, you thought your dad was the only Mandalorian?" I'm like, I was like, "No, probably not." But okay.
Right.
Weird flex.
I don't know. It was. I'm curious to see how long they keep Grogu little. Like, obviously marketing wise, they can make a lot of money off of merchandise. Look, it's Baby Yoda.
He's only going to be as big as Yoda, and Yoda wasn't exactly
I'm like
figure.
Right.
he's 50, but he's young for his.
Well, I'm not talking so much in age or not sizes, but as like how soon before he starts speaking more like Yoda? Do all of them speak backwards like that? I mean, what is 100-year-old Grogu going to speak like? And do they ever age him up, or when do they do that? That's one thing I had been curious about.
Well, like Pele said, like, oh, did he have his first word? I'm like, I hope he did. That'd be cool. I mean, he's obviously going to outlive Din Djarin, so.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to see if they just went on with Grogu, like you said, like an older Grogu that became.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was wondering if maybe they were going to try and do this weird meld of, because we've been talking about like there's been Mandalorian Jedis or just Mandalorians that have learned Jedi ways. I'm like, well, he was given that opportunity when he was with Luke. He's like, you want the lightsaber, or do you want to go, be with the Mandalorian again? I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, well, why not both? But maybe because he is
an absolutes.
That's exactly what someone made that comparison. I'm like, yeah, Luke, they kind of got you there, man. You deserved what happened to you with your nephew. Sorry.
Well,
I don't know.
Grogu. Okay, you said we're like 200 years away from the sequel trilogy, right?
No,
in the timeline,
maybe like 10 to 15 years away.
Oh, it's only 10 to 15. Okay,
yeah. So between Return of the Jedi and like Force Awakens is maybe about 20-ish years, maybe even 30.
Somewhere around there, maybe a little more.
Because we're a few years after. Like we saw Jedi Luke, which is my favorite version of Luke. The black, the hood, and the fucking green.
Yeah,
saber.
the black with the green saber.
God, that scene, man. He opens that door, he's standing with the hood and just kills those dark troopers.
So we never saw Grogu in the sequel trilogy. That's my point here.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that's why when you get the albeit fun, but definitely not canon game of Force Unleashed, where you're like, okay, but you have to explain why that guy never showed up ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they cut that from canon. Like, yeah, that doesn't happen. I'm like, yes, but you have somebody that is that insanely Force sensitive, that pulled down, mind you, pulled down with the Force with his hand,
it
a whole Star Destroyer.
It begins 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi and the fall of the Galactic Empire.
Okay.
What, the show does?
Yes. This show takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. So you can imagine it's probably 20 or 25 years before the events of the prequel trilogy, or the sequel trilogy, episode 7, 8, 9.
That's probably about
okay. Right. So realistically, if Grogu's like what, 50 now or something, right?
50. Yeah.
So he'd be about 70 to 75, let's say, when the sequel trilogy's out. But we never see him in it, so now we're going to have to justify: is he in hiding from? Like, I mean, obviously, I know Order 66 is gone. That's not a thing anymore. So why isn't he there when Rey and whoever else was in the new films was doing their thing? Like,
I'd like to think it's a big galaxy, but I'm like, I don't think something like that would stay under wraps for very long.
That's 6 to 6.
Who's to say that Grogu's got any connection to it at all?
I don't know.
He would kind of have to, though, wouldn't you think?
He seemed pretty damn important to those people in the remnants of the Empire. Like, we were looking for him specifically for a reason.
Right.
So
yeah, but they say I think they said early on in the first season, one of the reasons they were looking for him is because they wanted to dissect him and try to figure out maybe a biological reason for the Jedi's powers. Now we've already gotten the sequel trilogy. We've already gotten episodes 7, 8, and 9, and he's nowhere in it. So are you really going to try to rewrite this entire story around the idea that you need to fit in what happened to Grogu? I don't think you need to do it.
No, but like it is kind of a like in the back of your head that, oh yeah, this is happening.
Well, I think it comes down to how long do they plan to do The Mandalorian? Because if you're only going to do 3 more seasons, you don't technically even have to worry about it. You can end the show a year before the sequel trilogy starts. Huh?
I don't think you have to worry about it anyway.
No. I mean the big
this entire thing can happen separately of whatever happens in the sequel trilogies.
The big thing became Luke Skywalker. Remember in Force Awakens, they were like, "Oh my God, Luke Skywalker! You know Luke Skywalker, the legendary Luke Skywalker." Like that was the big thing they were all hung up on. So maybe you don't. I mean, if they're gonna do more of that, maybe because I'm like, we didn't really see what happened to Luke when he set up the new Jedi Temple and tried to train a whole new generation of Jedis.
That would be the easiest way to tie it in. Was Grogu after his journey with the Mandalorian went back to Luke, and that's just where you'd leave it. I mean, if you wanted to tie it,
And it was like older. It was older.
He already made his decision to walk away from training as a Jedi and to go kick it with Din Djarin. So
true.
You don't have to tie it together. Now it'd be interesting to see, like towards the end of this series, when it eventually wraps up, if Din Djarin and Luke are having a conversation, and then you see a young de-aged Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren like walking and be like, "Hey, Uncle Luke, my mom and dad sent me here to train," and that would be a fun little Easter egg. But
yeah,
I mean, that's really
with how well they de-aged
angsty Darth Vader shows up. Yeah, no thank you.
And the way they de-aged Harrison Ford. I mean, you could make a young Han Solo too. Hey, why not?
There's actually rumors that a young Han Solo is going to be showing up this season. I don't believe it's going to happen. But
really, I haven't heard that.
There's been
we all know how much
around for a while because Boba Fett and Han Solo have always had this kind of history together.
True,
obviously,
right?
But for those of you who have seen the movies, but I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, Disney's already got him in, or Harrison Ford in, doing the de-aging stuff for the new Indiana Jones movie. Maybe he pops in for a couple of days. They throw him a little bit of extra cheddar to come in and throw on the leather cut one more time, and
They're on the best.
Because we all know how much
put the blaster on and maybe walk around and shoot a few scenes. Would it be all that big a deal?
I don't know. I don't think he cares enough. But
he got what he wanted. Han died.
I know.
So I think it's not like showing up there for a scene and say, like whatever. It wouldn't be a big deal, but it's not like he'd have to carry a movie.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if I see the Millennium Falcon fly over at least once in this series, I mean, I might freak out a little bit.
That would be.
I think if I was in charge of the show, I think the way I end it is with Grogu, fighting Din, not in like a they hate each other way, but like Din knows he's coming to the end of his time or whatever, and Grogu wants to step up to be the leader of Mandalore, and he's, he fights him for the Darksaber, and he becomes the Mandalorian Jedi. So you get the best, just like you said, why not both, right? So do something similar to that, because if he's force sensitive, he can handle the Darksaber, right? It would, I could see it, something like that. I don't know.
I would assume
there was some very important shit that happened in this episode, in that he says that line. He's like, being a Mandalorian isn't just about fighting; it's about navigating the galaxy, so you're never lost.
Right.
And that's what I said last week, because I was like, why is he saying these things to him? He's not kind of quasi teaching him to be a Mandalorian, to be a bounty hunter. And then in this, you see Grogu make that big jump. He navigates his way back to Bo-Katan, says, "Hey, Din's in trouble," and then helps get back, and then takes her to where he's at. So he's kind of making that journey himself, just in a much different way than Din Djarin did it. So I mean, is this going to end up with maybe Din Djarin on the throne of Mandalore, and somebody putting one of those cool ass fucking helmets on Grogu's head? I mean, wouldn't it be wild if like one of the final scenes of this series is them at that lake, and without, giant Jurassic fucking alligator jumping out and causing chaos, they're going through the motions of him taking the oath and then putting a helmet on little fucking Grogu, and he becomes Grogu.
It's like go to the armorer, get him a little set of armor for himself. Yeah. Damn
right. Who's to say that doesn't happen at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I'm interested. I don't know. I'm interested to see where this series goes moving on. Because
well, it is funny speaking about being on thrones, because remember Pele came back. She's like, "Oh, are you coming for Boba Fett?" I'm like, "No, probably not. The hell? That's somebody you want on your side. Like, he's got his own little throne here on Tatooine, and he's like, I got my throne on Mandalore. So I don't know. Maybe we can be cool,
right?
Or I can steal an episode from his show again. I don't fucking care."
I think it's only fair that we give Boba Fett one of these episodes to do with this
on Mandalorian. Yeah,
on Mandalorian. On the Mandalorian. I mean, I think it balances out. It'll work out in the end.
But he's the way of the Force. It must be.
He's a Mandalorian too.
Yeah,
he could pop in.
Got to be balanced, buddy. Got to be balanced.
They are on the same side.
They are. Remember, they're kind of like most religions. They're different sects of the same religion. Yeah. So it's like you have these warriors of whatever, then you have these people over here, They're all Mandalorians. They're all kind of based in the same basic principles. They just view things differently, not unlike a lot of religions here that we deal with in real world. So it's not. It wouldn't be like even.
I even saw that episode. I even saw that scene again from when the first time I think Din Djarin and Boba Fett meet each other. When he has the hood up, he's like, "Are you a Jedi?" And he's like, "No, I'm just a guy trying to make his way through the galaxy." He's like, "I'm here for the armor," and he thinks he's talking about his. He's like, "No, I'm talking about my armor." He's like, "That doesn't belong to you. That's a Mandalorian's armor." He's like, "It was my father's armor." I'm like, you see, they're on the same page, kind of, but they're a few pages apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's the same.
One's in Psalms and the other one's in Corinthians. They're close, but they're just not too far away.
Right.
But I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys thought about episode 2 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. This show, much like Last of Us, just continues to get better and better. The creative team behind this, these are guys, we've talked a lot about The Last of Us, how the creative team behind it all is really in tune with what makes that story special. And Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are very much the same thing to The Mandalorian. These guys are very in tune with what is special about these characters, what's special about the world, and the creative focus behind it all shows through amazingly in the product. And that's one of the things that is most important, is getting a great creative focus. Because, look, Pedro Pascal is great in this role. Other people could have been great in this role. Pedro Pascal is great in this role, but a lot of it is about creative focus, knowing what you want this character to be, knowing what you want the story to be, and having guys who are legitimate fans of this product who are putting these stories together. Guys that take the shit personally. Because a lot of times we see it, guys are like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty popular property. I'm just going to hire some asshole to write a script and we're going to put $150 million behind a movie. And sure, we're going to make money because it's got a Star Wars logo on it or whatever. Bombing and making the whole thing look like shit, i.e. Solo. which
I do love the new Star Wars logo that they do before the shows, though. With all the neon helmets and the faces and stuff, that looks really cool. I mean, obviously Marvel has the comic flip thing, but Star Wars is better with the neon like lightsaber outline thing.
The only thing I don't like is that I like the stacked thing. It's a little more compact. I don't like the whole line of Star Wars. Like, just compact it again. It looked cool. I don't know.
I like it anyway. But go down the comments below. Let us know what you guys think of the second episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian. But before we get out of here, we do have to say a very sad goodbye to Tom Sizemore. We've talked about it a couple of times over the last week or so. Tom Sizemore did suffer a stroke as a part of a blood clot that got to his brain back in it was about 2 weeks ago now. His family did make the end of life decisions to pull the plug, and unfortunately on Friday, Tom Sizemore did pass away. We can't say anything more about Tom Sizemore's career that we haven't talked about already in the last week or so. Extremely talented actor, very, very good in everything that he's done. Again, one of the great character actors over the last 20 or 30 years. I mean, back into the 90s, I remember seeing him. Like, he obviously is one of my all-time favorite films. He was a significant part of that movie. Everything from Saving Private Ryan to all kinds of other things. Another movie that I keep pimping to Jeremy, and one of these days I'll have him over to watch it, is Bringing Out the Dead. A small role in that movie, but again, fantastic. Just so much emotion. It's such a great actor. And one of those guys that just succumbed to what a lot of Hollywood stars do. He got wrapped up in drugs and not so great behavior, and it ended up cutting his life, unfortunately, short. We could have had another at least 10 or 15 years of this guy doing what he does, but unfortunately, his life did come to an end on Friday after suffering a stroke. We'll go to you first, Tex. Any final thoughts on the life and career of Tom Sizemore?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've already spoke on the works of his that I appreciated, from Natural Born Killers to the many other things the man was in. But thoughts and prayers to his family, of course. And it's never to make that decision. It's never easy. I mean, my family just had to recently do it with my nan, my great grandmother. I understand the feeling now. She was 90 something years old. He wasn't, so they're a little bit different there. But it's so many times that we see these celebrity pass, and one thing that we bring up is, well, they lived a hard life, whether it was legally, drugs, whatever it may be. There's lessons to be learned here. And obviously, he's moved on to a better place, but there's lessons that we can take from this. May not do certain things because we see the results of it. So, prayers to the Sizemore family, and all we can do is thank Tom for his contribution to, art. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Jeremy, how about you?
I was going to say, just writing off of that, it just matters what you leave behind, too. And
yeah,
like Frank keeps telling me about this movie, I'm like, two that I absolutely love are Heat and Saving Private Ryan. But hey, if I want to add a third movie to that list, sure. Why not? We just recently watched Saving Private Ryan because she hadn't seen it. And I was like, yeah, it's a heavy movie to get through. But man, everybody brings their A game. It's a heavy movie, man. It's in that vein of Schindler's List, man. You don't really watch it often, but when you do, man, it'll hit you. I was like, yeah, just buckle in, because the first 20 minutes is going to hit you like a fucking rock, or hit you like an MG42 or whatever, like that. Those things are absolutely terrifying. That's a sound you don't forget.
I'm trying to remember the movie he was in with Bruce Willis. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Wrong one. There it is.
But what's the
recent or old?
It was probably late 90s.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Where he was not Hudson Hawk, damn it. It was right around there. What's the name of it?
Was he in Armageddon?
No, he was. It's not Armageddon.
Okay.
It's the one where he was like the river diver in Pittsburgh or something like that.
Striking Distance?
Is that the name of it? That might be it.
It's in the.
I don't think I ever saw that one.
Yeah, Striking Distance was the
Striking
one.
Distance.
He actually plays Bruce Willis's cousin in Striking Distance, and That was actually that was one of the roles that I was thinking about the other day, because as the news finally broke that he had passed away, it came across Twitter from THR, and I was just kind of rolling through some movies in my head, and one that I just popped up out of nowhere was Striking Distance. He plays, him and Bruce Willis are cousins. They're part of this big cop family that's got a tradition of being cops, and there was a lot of really great emotion that he conveyed in that role. It wasn't an actiony role really. It's like he's suspected as being the killer and so on and so on. And you have to watch the movie to understand basically what the whole plot is. But he plays kind of like this discredited Pittsburgh cop who is cousins to Bruce Willis. And it's like there's a lot that goes on around it. There was a lot of really high emotion. He played the broken man very, very well in that movie. Because it's like any actor can go on there and like fake some tears and be like, oh, woe is me because of my problems. But you kind of start to wonder if maybe some of his life experiences, even up to that point, had made playing a broken individual, someone whose career had come to a halt, whose family
was pulling from real life,
whose extended family as a police officer had kind of pulled away from him and kind of turned their back on him. If maybe some of that didn't play into how he played that particular character. Because that is not one of the biggest Bruce Willis movies that has ever been made. I mean, if you think Bruce Willis, you're going to go to Die Hard and some other things. But you're not really going to go to this movie first. But there really was a lot of great acting in that movie that's really unfortunate that kind of gets overlooked. But and he was one of the great parts of it, I think, in my opinion. Just a fantastic character actor, and I'm really going to miss some of the work that he did. Again, like Heat is a fantastic movie. He's got one of the coolest lines in the movie. They're trying to decide if they're going to go forward with this job or not because they think the heat's on him. And he goes, "Hey, man, for me, the action is the juice. I'm in." And I'm like, "All right, bro, let's go." He made me want to go fucking break into a jewelry store and heist about it. But also, one of the things that jump out at me is like when he would smile a certain way, it looked so peaceful. He looked so happy. He had kind of that, when he would crack that real honest smile, it was great. Because he does that in that scene. He says, for me, the action is the juice. I'm in. And he cracks that big smile like he's like, I'm right where I want to be in life. I'm completely satisfied. And it's just one of those easy smiles that just kind of like, it makes you feel good. And that's one of the things that I'm probably going to miss. There's also a couple of great scenes. Jeremy, I swear to God, when I have to arrange it here soon, we have to sit down and watch this movie. The scene where he talks about killing the ambulance. I can't. It's like that to me is one of the prototypical Tom Sizemore pieces of dialogue where I tried to kill this ambulance for so long, this bitch doesn't fucking die. And I'm like, and it makes no sense unless you hear it come from Tom Sizemore. Then you're like, this is exactly what kind of dialogue I hear from this fucking guy. He's talking about killing a car, but whatever. But it works so well. The movie itself is such a mind trip, but I mean, it works so well coming from him in that movie. Just there's so much about this guy's career that I look back on and I'm like, wow, he was really so special. But very unfortunate. So go down in the comments below. Let us know if you guys have any other remaining thoughts about the career of Tom Sizemore. And I echo what Tech said. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. We know they're dealing with a tough time right now, but I mean, he's got this large body of amazing work for us to all go back and enjoy for a long, long time now. As long as film exists, we'll be able to go back and see the great works of Tom Sizemore.
I mean, as he said, he got to drop the movie line. He's like, maybe one day we'll look back on this and maybe Saving Private Ryan is the best thing we ever did.
Yeah, and that's a great heartfelt line too.
Yeah,
like that's one of the great pieces of dialogue in that entire film.
Yeah,
that puts the entire film, the entire plot of that movie into perspective.
Yeah,
in a way that isn't put into perspective up to that point. So yeah, I mean, it's again a fantastic actor, one that you could always count on to deliver a great performance for whatever role he was in. A lot of range that he didn't get a lot of credit for. It's very unfortunate. But go back and watch some of the work of Tom Sizemore. I think you guys get a kick out of it. Again, I think he's one of the great character actors of a generation. It's very sad that he's gone, but we've got this great body of work to enjoy, so go back and enjoy it. But that's going to be a good place to start wrapping things up for tonight. Jeremy, where can the folks at home find you?
I'm right here. You're looking at now. And I can't believe I'm just going to keep stealing that line from Spaceballs. Thank you, Mel Brooks. It does. I know. I'm here right now. You're looking at now. If you want, I can't make that work. Never mind. I'm also here on Tuesdays or whenever we decide to do to add to our Pedro Pascal appreciation. Watching The Last of Us.
I was going to say, are you just going to rename the channel the Pedro Pascal channel?
There are times I've thought about it. Where should we rename it the Pedro Pascal?
We could. We might get more hits that way. They're like, "Ooh, what is this? Oh, it's these three assholes talking about."
Pedro Pascal again.
Yeah. So, if you're not talking about Pedro Pascal in 2023, what are you doing with your life? Come on. So Yeah, we're here talking about Pedro Pascal on Tuesdays with The Last of Us, and also on Thursdays now with The Mandalorian, and other reviews and all kinds of whatnots. So I'm on this channel. I'm also on my own, which has nothing, so not really. And on yes, Twitter, but whatever. I just bitch about stuff. I don't really post anything meaningful, but if that's your job, sure, whatever. I'm a great content creator, as you can tell. I also have a Twitter. God damn it.
So motivated.
I know. But that's the vibe. That's the character. That's what you come for, right? Because I'm just so jaded and just like, you just really want to push my button a little further to see how mad I get. I don't know. Maybe that's why people do that. Maybe that's why people in positions of power do that to me at my job. But anyway, I also have a. Yeah, I definitely didn't just say that. I also have a Twitch, which I don't really do anything with yet. But now that The Last of Us is coming to an end, like I've been saying, I'll start playing the game. And because, like I said, if you've not experienced the game yet, if you've watched the show at least, come see the other side of where it all started. It's a fun dynamic to now think about with the show in perspective. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I know I keep trying to cringe and say that I want to play the second game, but whatever. If we get a third that maybe helps bounce back from it, I'll be there. So that's what I got.
And my man, the shape from the Lone Star State, who has a thing for knives, apparently. Does this do it for you, Tex? Does this do it for you?
This is. Hey, no, you're not.
I feel like I missed out on something.
Jerry, it was on Casey's show last night.
That's fine. I don't need to know. It's all right.
You're
no, you should have done it. Next week, Frank, you need to do a bigger knife. Come in like Crocodile Dundee because everything's bigger.
Well, see,
excess. You need a big knife.
See, Frank, that's not a knife.
Yes, I know.
This is a knife. All right. Sorry, I had to do it. If you're pulling out yours, I got to pull out mine, and I can't believe I just said that live on the internet.
We ain't that kind of channel, Rocker.
Here we go. Either way, no. Obviously here, I'll pull a Jeremy line, and I'm here now, or whatever you just said. Tune in next week because we're talking Scream 6, and I'm going to be the Yvette Nicole Brown, and I've got notes, bitches. So
there you go.
They're already wrote. So /revision on Twitter or @/revision, whatever. Saturday night on Derailed Gaming Channel, we're having our reunion show, and Drew's already tried to start a ruckus and whatever to get viewership over there. So tune in; it'll be fun to hang out with all of us again. Drew and J-Man and, whatever. But other than that, yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
As for me, you can find me and Jeremy here on Tuesday breaking down the final episode of Season 1 of The Last of Us. That is going to be a barn burner, I'm sure. There's so many things that we are planning on seeing that episode.
One-man army Joel.
I can already see Jeremy's nipples getting hard through his flannel.
I know.
Jeremy almost needs new pants.
That's going to be a pretty eventful
out.
episode. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty eventful episode, I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to breaking that down with Jeremy on Tuesday. Next Thursday is going to be, like Tex said, Scream 6. We're going to be doing the breakdown of that show on Thursday. I'm going to go see it either tomorrow or Saturday at some point. I may try to sneak out and go see it tomorrow for a while, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. A lot of great reviews so far. A lot of people whose opinions I trust.
Incredible.
That movie was actually really, really good. You guys know I've said it 100 times. The first Scream movie, not bad. Everything after that was kind of just pure garbage, to me anyway. The last movie, Scream 5, was not bad. I enjoyed it a little bit more than I thought I would. And a lot of people are saying that this one really kind of like turns it up to 11. And that makes me pretty happy to see so far.
This is the third best Scream movie in the franchise. I will say that. I won't spoil anything, but for me, it's the third best of the franchise. So.
Yeah, but Thursday, that's what Thursday's show is going to be about, unless some really big entertainment news pops off, which might be. I'm keeping an eye on a few things. This whole Disney sale of Hulu is something that I'm watching. There's some talk that they may be selling Hulu in a way to facilitate getting back the full rights to Hulk and Namor so that they can make standalone movies again. I'm kind of watching that to see what happens. That's not a story that's there yet, so I'm not going to talk about it yet. But if something else big pops off, we'll probably start with that. But next Thursday is going to be all about Scream 6. Maybe I'll see if American Werewolf from New Jersey wants to come hang out with us on Thursday. I'll see if he's.
Oh yeah,
it'd be nice to have. It'd be nice to have another horror fan and another great voice in movie fan break down that movie. But yeah. other than that, like Tech said, Saturday we're going to be over on the Derail Gaming to do kind of a little, at least one night revival of the Derail podcast. We'll be talking about it's going to be a big hangout. I've got a couple of news stories that I've got in queue if Drew needs me to kind of bring in the news stuff. So some interesting stories. It's going to be probably a lot of drinking by Drew, especially. And really just to hang out, kind of getting back to what we did on the Derail days. And then maybe if you guys donate to Drew enough, maybe he'll say, hey, I kind of like making this kind of money. He'll start doing this Sunday. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
But you can see us over there on Sunday night at, I think, 9 o'clock, or Saturday night, rather.
Saturday night. Yeah.
Saturday. But
I think Saturday, like 8 Central, something, 9 Pacific, I believe. But just subscribe to his channel and you'll get an alert. I don't know the exact time.
Something like that. But we will see you guys later on. Until next time, adios.
Adios.